Chapter 734. According to the order? Ziyen frowned. She instinctively felt that there was a conspiracy going on. However, when she looked at the names on the golden paper, her eyes flickered with surprise. Not only were there 10 names on the paper, but there were also their clans and sea regions. However, the 10 of them seemed to be unrelated and were scattered in different corners of the sea region. How did they offend Ling Xiao? Haha, Zi Huang, you don't have to worry. I have my reasons for doing this. Ling Xiao smiled. He had carefully selected these 10 people, and they were scattered in different parts of the sea region. There was a distance of 10,000 miles between the two of them. In this way, although the snake killed people without any pattern, it was enough to keep Divine Envoy Dugu busy for a while. Even so, in the end, the first Divine Envoy found the Sea Tribe expert and killed him. It didn't affect Ling Xiao at all. F***CK. I was ordered by the Sea Emperor to eliminate the traitors of the Sea Tribe. Why did you kill me? As for how to get the first Divine Envoy to notice Commander Snake, take a guess. What are you trying to do? Vaguely, Ziyen felt that the young man in front of her seemed to be setting up a big scheme. However, he had grasped her biggest weakness, making it impossible for her to break free. She didn't even dare to take the slightest risk. Ziyen knew about the existence of the heavenly alligator ancestral land. Over the years, she had set up countless traps at the entrance of the ancestral land because she was worried that Izhan would return. Now that the latter had reappeared, he had used some unknown method to rebuild his beast core. He would definitely find a way to return to the ancestral land next. She had learned from E&I that there were still former members of the Heavenly Alligator tribe in the ancestral land. Once these people walked out of the ancestral land, the sea region would return to the Heavenly Alligator tribe. Ziyan's 300 years of planning would be completely ruined. Of course, no matter how scheming Ziyen was, she didn't think of two things. First, Dugu Yunjin didn't come to the sea region to suppress the sea tribe, but to find the monster who comprehended the extreme Ice Dao law. Second, to open the ancestral land of the Heavenly Alligator tribe, one must have the immortal source and the Heavenly Alligator tribe token. Therefore, in this game she was just a smart chess piece. She was still at Ling Xiao's mercy. The Sea Emperor didn't tell me his secret either, did he? As long as what I do is beneficial to the Ocean Emperor, why should you care about who lives and who dies? Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent, and his eyes seemed to be filled with killing intent. In the end, Ziyen lightly nodded. All right, I'll give you a month. After a month, if you can't bring back Crocodile Jean's head, no matter where you hide, I'll personally crush you to death. With her temperament, not to mention a few irrelevant people, even if she died, as long as it could help her obtain some benefits, it would be worth it. She simply didn't like the feeling of not being able to see through him. All right, but in the meantime, no matter what I do, I hope the Ocean Emperor won't interfere. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently and turned his head to look at the young girl trapped in the Thunder World. Oh, no matter who you are, I advise you not to have any ideas about Shi-Er. Otherwise, you will still die a miserable death. Haha, it seems that the Ocean Emperor truly loves Shi-Er. Fine, then let her follow the Ocean Emperor and cultivate well. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently and took a step forward, instantly disappearing on the spot. Although there was no reason not to harvest leeks, it was obvious that the current Shi-Er was not mature enough. If he raised her by Ziyan's side, no matter what the latter's purpose was, she would work hard to help her awaken her bloodline and improve her cultivation. Otherwise, she would lose her value. When the time comes, I'll fatten her up and eat her. Won't you be happy? It wasn't until Ling Xiao's figure was far away that the smile on Ziyan's face completely froze. She lowered her head and looked at the 10 names in her hand, seemingly lost in thought. But in the end, Ziyen couldn't figure out what the young man's intention was, so she simply stopped thinking about it. After all, Ziyen had already left a mark on his body. No matter where he hid, he couldn't escape death. The most important thing now was to kill Crocodile Jean and stabilize the sea. Only then could she borrow the power of the sea to fulfill her wish. Calculating the time, there was only half a year left until the last chance. She see. Empress. A figure descended from the sky and bowed respectfully to Ziyen. Kill them one by one according to the names on this. Remember, don't expose your whereabouts, and don't let anyone know that it was my Sea Emperor Palace who did it. Ziyen casually handed the golden paper to Shi, her eyes returning to their usual coldness. At this moment, she had already decided that no matter what Ling Xiao was plotting, as long as he killed Crocodile Jean in a month, Ziyen would kill him without hesitation. Even if you're full of schemes, what can you do to me if I don't play with you? What agreement? What promise? It's just an obstacle on the path to immortality. If I kill you, no one will know that we had an agreement. Of course, before that, she would still cooperate with Ling Xiao and put on a good show. What Shi had done did not affect her too much. Ling Xiao, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for scheming against the wrong person. Ziyen coldly snorted, and Shi turned into an afterimage and disappeared. The thunder world shattered, and Sheer looked at Ziyen blankly. In the next moment, her beautiful eyes suddenly widened. What did you do to Lord Ling Xiao? Master? Where is young master? There are some people that you are destined to be unable to stand side by side with. Forget it early. It might not be a bad thing for you. Ziyan's expression was calm, and even her tone was extremely indifferent. In this world, there was no one who was clean when it came to scheming. Ling Xiao had set up layers upon layers to lure her here. If someone said that the destruction of the Golden Scale Clan had nothing to do with him, Ziyen naturally wouldn't believe it. Of course, without evidence and certainty, she wouldn't expose Ling Xiao's hypocrisy. After all, they were all the same. Benefits were the foundation of cooperation. You killed him? Sheer covered her mouth with her hand, panic in her eyes. You actually killed him? Don't worry, after all, he is your savior. I let him leave, but you don't have to see each other in the future. Ziyen gave Sheer a deep look, then walked towards the depths of the sea. Ling Xiao's guess was correct. From the moment Ziyen saw Sheer, she had seen through the girl's bloodline. Even in the Xingzhou continent, the bloodline of a true dragon could be said to be miraculous. Most importantly, according to what Ziyen knew, since ancient times, the Xingzhou continent had only given birth to one true dragon. She didn't know whether Shi-Er was that person's child, but it didn't stop her from giving it a try. Master, I'll only say it once. If you don't listen, I'll definitely kill him the next time I see him. This young man's thoughts were just too deep, like an abyss in the sea of stars, making others fearful for no reason. Even Ziyen was inexplicably wary of him. Shi-Er was an extremely important part of her grand plan. Ling Xiao had to die, but, before that, Ziyen didn't dare to take the risk of letting Shi-Er get too close to him. Master! Shi-Er clenched her hands, a trace of sorrow between her brows. She understood her master. If she said she was going to kill him, she definitely wouldn't show any mercy. Who would have thought that the separation just now would be forever? Young master, in the end, is Shi-Er wishful thinking? Chapter 735. The 5,000 kilometers of sea region sparkled with light. Aside from the stench, there was also a salty smell. That was right. This was the smell of the sea. At this moment, on a desolate island in the depths of the sea region, Ling Xiao calmly looked at the figure kneeling on the ground before him. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes. Xiong Huan stood quietly beside Xiao Qin. He did not give off any aura at all. However, for some reason, he gave off a stifling feeling. This was especially so for his mountain-like figure, which vaguely gave off a ferocious aura. Commander Shi, have you thought it through? The person kneeling before Xiao Qin was Shi, whom the Sea Monarch had sent out to kill people for Ling Xiao. The Ice Dao Law, a rank 6 God Emperor, the perfect bait. The moment Ling Xiao handed the golden paper with the names of the Sea region experts to Ziyan, he had already sent Xiong Huan, Xingxin, and the others to guard the Sea region where the first person on the list was. Naturally, the goal was to invite this commander Shi over for a chat. No matter how strict the plan was, there would always be flaws. This was especially so for Dugu Yunjin and Ziyan, who were scheming people. One had to be even more careful when playing with them. If Xiao Chen wanted this plan to be perfect, he had to turn all the uncontrollable risks into controllable ones. For example, Shi. Although Shi's cultivation was strong, it was far from enough to make Ling Xiao fear him. As long as Xiao Chen controlled Shi, this plan would be perfect. Given Ziyan's temperament, Ling Xiao naturally did not believe that she would keep her promise. On the contrary, villains were always ruthless and merciless. Once they obtained benefits, they could kill anyone. However, as long as Ling Xiao could continuously provide her with benefits, this Sea region overlord would be the sharpest blade in his hand. I helped you kill Yizhan, but the first divine envoy seems to be suspicious of you. Zi Huang, why don't we work together and kill him? Their plan was well-connected and flawless. Or rather, even if Ziyan guessed Ling Xiao's identity and intentions, given the situation, she had no other choice. I, Ling Xiao, the Go Master, will not play. When this world becomes more and more vast, only then will you understand what kind of price one has to pay for being arrogant and brainless. Not to mention, he was a villain without any luck. Advancing step by step, being ruthless and resolute, treating all living beings as chess pieces and killing each other. Only then would one have a chance to reach the pinnacle. In your dreams, if you dare to touch me, the Violet Emperor will not let you off. Shi's eyes widened, flickering with scarlet light. He really didn't expect that this young man who was still chatting happily with the Purple Emperor just a second ago would capture him in the blink of an eye. Oh, don't tell me he didn't think of that. Even the Violet Emperor had probably never imagined that Ling Xiao's intentions would actually be so sinister. Given the Purple Emperor's personality, he still had to wait until the cooperation was over before he made a move on Ling Xiao. Who would have thought that the latter would actually, turn hostile and merciless? Oh? Is that so? Ling Xiao shook his head and chuckled, looking at the strand of hair in his hand. He could sense an unfamiliar soul power from this strand of hair. Clearly, this was the soul imprint Ziyan had left on him. Commander Shi, aren't you overestimating your position in the Violet Emperor's heart too much? From the moment she agreed to my request, you were already a chess piece that could be discarded. You're talking nonsense. Don't even think about instigating the relationship between us. Shi's face turned pale and he swallowed hard. However, given his understanding of Ziyan, he believed Ling Xiao's words. But what can I do? At worst, I'll just die today. But if I betray Ziyan, I feel like I'll rather die than live. Haha, Commander Shi, isn't it the same no matter who you submit to? Anyway, a minor character like you can't become the main character of this world. Isn't it better to be alive? Ling Xiao smiled indifferently, but a hint of hesitation flashed across Shi's eyes. Forget it. Since Commander Shi is so loyal, I'll fulfill your wish. Xiong Huan, break all the bones in his body so that others won't recognize him as Commander Shi. Then, feed him some medicinal pills to help him regrow his broken bones. Then, break them again. After saying that, Ling Xiao finally stopped hesitating and walked away. IF*CK? Shi was stunned. Why is it so sudden? Shouldn't you say a few more bad things about Ziyan and persuade me? Then, I'll reluctantly agree to your request so that I won't appear to be so rebellious? Why do you want to kill me? It seems like I'll rather die than live right now. Wait. Master. I submit. I submit. Shi scrambled to kneel in front of Ling Xiao. There was no longer any trace of the cold arrogance on his face. He had seen Xiong Huan's methods. This man who looked fierce and terrifying on the outside was actually even fiercer than his appearance. Even though Shi had comprehended the laws of Tao, he was still unable to withstand the might of his fist. Falling into his hands, Shi had a premonition that it would be even worse than death. This young man was right. Submitting to anyone is not the same no matter who you submit to. This sea is not my home. Being able to live is truly wonderful. It's too late. Ling Xiao shook his head and a playful look appeared in his eyes. This person never knows when to be satisfied and likes to bargain. However, I, Ling Xiao, am a straightforward person. Contentment brings joy. Discontentment will lead to death. No. Master, please give me another chance. I will do anything you ask me to. Shi cried out sorrowfully. However, Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows. Anything? Yes, yes. Then open up your divine soul. What is control? Using your mouth to express your loyalty? The destined person is recognized and submitted by the system, or planted with a soul imprint. In this situation, Shi played a crucial role. Although he was an inconspicuous chess piece, he was used to link up the entire situation. He was the Ocean Emperor's personal guard, a loyal servant, and someone who had comprehended the laws of ice. If he colluded with the demons in the end, how do you think the first divine envoy would react? What? Which demon? Of course, it would be the one who had the protection of an expert and was determined to prove the name of the demon. As for Shi, if I said that he was the bait that the Ocean Emperor set to hide Yi Qingchan's whereabouts, do you think the divine envoy would believe me? What a familiar scene! Who would have thought that after Lord Ye's rebirth, she would actually collude with the demons again? Open up your divine soul? My lord, our Ocean Emperor Palace doesn't have such a rule. No. My lord, you don't know that the Purple Emperor's divine soul is very powerful, and she is proficient in the array Tao. If you did something to my soul see, you won't be able to escape her eyes. Shi spoke righteously. His words were full of consideration for Ling Xiao. Young master, don't do that. Be careful that the Ocean Emperor doesn't kill you. Oh, don't worry. You will never see her again. Ling Xiao's expression was gentle, but his words sent chills down Shi's spine. Holy shit. Heartless. Did Ling Xiao mean that he planned to kill the Ocean Emperor and dominate the sea region? Of course, Shi seemed to have neglected a problem. Killing him was much easier than killing the Ocean Emperor. Yes, my lord, since you are so ambitious, Shi will definitely follow you. In the end, under Ling Xiao's slightly surprised gaze, Shi's expression suddenly turned serious. Then, he opened up his soul sea and allowed Ling Xiao to plant a soul imprint on him. Go. According to their names, according to their order, use the Ice Tao law to freeze them all into ice sculptures. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Xiao gently waved his hand and dismissed Shi. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound between heaven and earth. Immediately after, the figure of layered shadow descended from the sky and landed in front of Ling Xiao. My lord, we have completed the task that you have entrusted us with. Now, with the dark guards leading the way, we have trapped Feng Rugu in a barren mountain on the island, the dark guards reported. Well done. Inform the shadow guards to lead the way. Seal the mountain and burn it with fire. It will take 49 days to completely kill the heavenly poison evil body. A sinister look flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, but the corners of his mouth curled up into a gentle smile. Rouge, do you miss me now? Chapter 736. Rhythm? My lord. Rhythm. How do I lead? Folded Shadow was puzzled. She didn't quite understand what rhythm was. Oh, rhythm. It's a kind of provocative speech with magical power. Remember, when you lead the rhythm, you must be half true and half false. Show that you understand this matter very well. You must have the right emotions so that many people will agree with you. Ling Xiao explained, but the confusion on Folded Shadow's face deepened. Okay, you don't have to understand. Just do as I say. Yes, my lord. Just as Folded Shadow was about to leave, Ling Xiao suddenly handed her the strand of hair with the Sea Emperor's mark. Find a secret guard. Take this strand of hair and run around the sea area. Don't stop for a moment. Yes, my lord. Although Folded Shadow was puzzled, she didn't dare to ask and disappeared instantly. With Ziyan's temperament, it was impossible for her not to notice the strangeness of Ling Xiao's trace. But even if she caught the secret guard, she wouldn't dare to make things difficult for Ling Xiao. After all, leaving a mark wasn't something to be proud of. It's time to meet the descendant of the heavenly crocodile. Ling Xiao looked into the distance. With Phoenix Rouge's luck, she wouldn't die in a short time. Let her feel despair first, then give her hope. Only then can she seriously feel how great I, Ling Xiao, am. All of you leave. Ling Xiao reached out and held the Heavenly Crocodile Clan token in his hand. From Yi's words, he knew that this token was not only the token of the Heavenly Crocodile Clan but also contained a strand of Yi Zhan's soul consciousness. In other words, this token was not only Yi Zhan's soul token, but also a mark that could make Yi Zhan feel his existence. The reason why he lured the Sea Emperor here today was not only to control her with the help of the Flood Dragon human clan, but also to put pressure on Yi Zhan. Since your identity is exposed, do you still want to continue to grow? Is it possible? Charge for me. In the ancestral land, there was the Immortal Source and the Heavenly Crocodile Clan. As long as Yi Zhan could return, he would definitely soar to the top. However, it just so happened that he had neither the clan medallion nor the immortal origin in his possession. Wanting to snatch the immortal origin from Ziyan was undoubtedly a fool's dream. The only hope was Yi. Now Ling Xiao deliberately spread the news, saying that he saw the news of another Heavenly Alligator clan member from Gu Ao's memory. If Yi Zhan wanted revenge, he would never miss such an opportunity. The Bone Race was Ziyan's loyal servant. It was reasonable for them to know some of the Sea Monarch's secret. Buzz. As the spiritual light in Ling Xiao's hand shone brightly, it poured into the golden scale. The Heavenly Alligator clan token shone brightly. Faintly, a wisp of divine soul rippled out from within and disappeared in the blink of an eye. After doing all this, Ling Xiao sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate system. After a long silence, Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness heard a low and deep voice cursing. I thought I heard wrong. It's already over 300 chapters and you finally remember that you still have a system? Beep beep. Owner, Ling Xiao. Identity, successor of the Ling people, Sky Demon Palace Master. Divine Body, Sky Demon True Body 3rd Transformation, Forbidden Physique. Cultivation, 4th Grade Divine King. Divine Soul, 8th Grade Divine Emperor. Spiritual Treasures, Immemorial Demonic Blade, Grade Unknown, 8 Desolation Glazed Demon Subduing Pagoda, Divine Treasure, Imperial Star Robe, High Grade Tao Artifact, Bloodthirsty Ghost Pearl, Grade Unknown, Ancient Desolate Heaven Tablet, Divine Treasure. Cultivation Techniques, Myriad Demonic Arts, Sky Demon Sutra, Sky Demon True Body, Talent, Eye of Nirvana, Talent, Sky Demon Eyes, Blood Moon Forbidden Region, Ancient Soul Assimilation Technique, Forbidden Technique. Mysterious Heaven Ancient Scripture, Dark Inyama Scripture, Upper World Classic, Great Desolate Heaven Imprisoning Seal, Soul Skill, Blazing Scripture, Immemorial Imperial Flames. Tao Laws, Lightning Perfection, Sword Perfection, Wind Perfection, Water Perfection, Flame Perfection, Origin Perfection, Darkness Perfection, Slaughter Perfection, Divine Wood Perfection, Blade Perfection, Holy Word Perfection, Aged Metal Perfection, Earth Comprehension, Chaos Comprehension. Original Creation, Great Tao of Annihilation, 9 Taos comprehended, 29 Taos flourished, 49 Taos completed, 69 Taos perfected, 99 Daos completed, spiritual beast. Immemorial demonic dragon, 6th grade divine overlord. Destiny body, forging progress, 22%. Luck 12,000. Villain points, 68,000. Conversion of luck into destiny point. Ling Xiao said indifferently. On the system interface, the foot of a small figure suddenly turned into a bright gold color. Congratulations to the host for forging 23% of destiny point. Villain points, Xiantian ancient scripture, add a point. Buzz. Following a buzzing sound, 2 celestial figures appeared above Ling Xiao's head. One of them was extremely solid. It was the immaculate Tao body. The other one was still illusory, but the Taoist rhyme was also beginning to show its mysteriousness. At the same time, Ling Xiao's body seemed to tremble for a moment before calming down. 5th grade divine king. Time passed slowly until the sun set in the west and the moon shone brightly. There was a slight ripple in the void above the deserted island. Then, a ferocious giant claw surrounded by endless demonic chi suddenly tore through the clouds and descended from the sky, pressing down on Ling Xiao's head. Thousands of miles of sky crumbled in an instant. As the Taoist runes flickered, a demonic figure appeared in the sky. It's coming. Ling Xiao's eyes narrowed slightly, but the corner of his mouth lifted into a smile. Then, above his head, the divine tree soared into the sky like a pillar that supported the sky, trying to resist the demonic claw. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 1st grade divine king realm after all. The power of the demonic claw was comparable to an 8th grade divine emperor. In just a moment, the divine tree shattered, turning into sawdust that fell from the sky. Boom! In the end, the claw fell and smashed half of the deserted island into powder. Waves rose and dust filled the air. A cold voice suddenly came from within. Young Master Yijan, if you are so rude, I'm afraid you won't be able to enter the ancestral land. Just a moment ago, Ling Xiao directly entered the realm and dodged the monstrous attack. According to Ling Xiao's thoughts, the one who attacked must be the great ancestor of the flood dragon person beside Yijan that day. Although the demonic claw carried an unparalleled power, it was slightly hesitant. It was most likely just a test to confirm whether Ling Xiao was protected by any expert. Heaven and earth were silent, and the clouds were surging. Ao Sun's eyes narrowed slightly, and there was a touch of surprise in his vicissitudes of life. Even with his cultivation, he couldn't see clearly how the young man dodged his attack. How should I address you, young master? Suddenly, the void fluctuated, and Ao Sun stepped out of the sky. However, the vigilance in his eyes didn't dissipate at all. Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked calmly at the great ancestor of the flood dragon person in front of him with a gentle smile. Don't be nervous, great ancestor. If the Ocean Emperor was here, you would be a dead man now. You! Chapter 737. Lord Ling Xiao, how arrogant of you! Ao Sun snorted. Demonic aura surged around him. He stretched out his hand and turned into a flood dragon shadow, shattering the blue sky. Layers of demonic light bloomed in the sky. It was as if a flood dragon was smashing the void and clawing down. Patriarch, I advise you not to be rash. Otherwise, the fluctuations here will spread and attract unnecessary trouble. Wouldn't that be a loss? Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back, looking extremely calm. This flood dragon human patriarch was indeed cautious. After probing again and again, it seemed that he was still wary of the Zi Huang. Patriarch. Right at this moment, the figure of a young man slowly appeared behind Ao Sun and patted him on the shoulder. Young lord, leave it to me. I think Lord Ling Xiao must have something to say since he specially came here. Yijan looked down at Ling Xiao from above, his eyes shining with ancient light. Although this young lord of the heavenly alligator clan looked like a young man, but Ling Xiao knew that he was a figure from 1,000 years ago. Moreover, to be able to reconstruct his demon core and return to the immortal path, Yi-Zhan's temperament was already terrifying enough. A ninth-stage divine king with a primordial bloodline. He just didn't know how many slashes such a peerless genius could withstand. "Do you have my heavenly alligator clan token?" Just now, when Yi-Zhan and Ao Sun quietly walked out of the ancient array of the flood dragon humans, he felt a fluctuation from the soul consciousness. This fluctuation could only be caused by the strand of soul consciousness he had left in the clan medallion. Until now, Yi-Zhan still didn't know why the heavenly alligator clan token didn't fall into Ziyan's hands, but appeared in the hands of a human youth. But he couldn't be wrong. That's right. Ling Zhao's eyes were clear as he took out the golden scale from his universe ring. Clan token. Yi-Zhan's body trembled, and he looked particularly excited. Now, if he wanted to avenge the humiliation and restore the glory of the heavenly alligator clan, he could only return to the ancestral land and inherit the immortal origin. Only then would he have the chance to chase after Ziyan's footsteps, until the day he could stand in front of her and ask if she regretted it. After all, Yi-Zhan didn't care who was the master of this sea region. It was just that he was unable to let go of the hatred in his heart, or perhaps it was better to say that he was unable to let go of Ziyan's betrayal. "Who are you? Why is my clan's holy badge in your hands?" Iwar took a deep breath, and his expression gradually calmed down. Based on his understanding of his father, it was absolutely impossible for him to hand over the token so easily. Moreover, his father's soul sea contained the divine seal that was personally passed down by the heavenly crocodile ancestor. This seal was the symbol of the heavenly alligator clan master. In other words, no one could easily pry open his father's soul sea and search his soul. "Look again, what is this?" Ling Xiao chuckled. The immortal origin in his Dan sea gave off a clear radiance. The spiritual aura of the entire desolate island gathered around Ling Xiao. The moment Yi-Zhan felt the immortal source, his eyes widened instantly. "You? Who are you? Why do you have the immortal origin and the clan token?" Yi-Zhan's eyes widened and his mind raced. If he killed this young man, would he not only be able to return to his ancestral land, but also obtain an additional immortal origin? "At this point, you still can't recognize who I am?" Ling Xiao sneered, and his tone contained an unquestionable majesty. A wisp of divine soul power instantly surged between heaven and earth, crushing the wind and clouds within 10,000 miles into nothingness. Ao Sun and Yi-Zhan's expressions turned dull almost instantly, especially when they felt the terror of the soul power. Their eyes flashed with deep fear. You are my father?" At this moment, Yi-Zhan suddenly thought of something. The clan token, the immortal origin, and the soul power that was almost comparable to a ninth-stage divine emperor. As everyone knew, this powerhouse's realm would inevitably fall when he was reborn or possessed. But the divine soul level might be intact. This was the commonly known innate full soul power. It was also a common cheat, and these three coincidentally appeared in the same person, which made Yi-Zhan think of many things. Could it be that this young man was possessed by his father? "Who are you calling your father? I don't have a cheap son like you." Ling Xiao casually threw the golden scale clan token into Yi-Zhan's hand. "I came to the sea region to fulfill a promise. I have given you the clan token, and the rest is up to you." "What? Promise? Could it be you have met my father?" "Sir, please wait. Do you know where my father is now?" Yi-Zhan took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with excitement. Could it be that he guessed wrong? His father was not trapped by Ziyan? Yi's body and soul have been shattered. When I met him, he only had a wisp of remnant soul left. He gave me this immortal origin and asked me to promise him one thing. Ling Xiao looked indifferent, as if he had no interest in the heavenly crocodile's ancestral land. With the power he had in his hands, it was not impossible to kill the clan master of the Flood Dragon clan. However, if he wanted to kill a peak grade 8 Emperor God, he would definitely have to pay a price. What's more, Ijan was the descendant of the heavenly crocodile. If he brought him into the ancestral land, it would definitely save him a lot of trouble. After all, there were still remnants of the heavenly crocodile tribe in this ancestral land. Who knew if there were any 9th grade experts among them? What? Who killed my father? How would I know? I have given you the clan token. I have fulfilled my promise. Goodbye. Ling Xiao turned around to leave, but he saw Ao Sun descending from the sky and blocking his way. Young man, since you were entrusted by the old clan master, why did you lead Zi Huang to come and slaughter my Flood Dragon clan? At this time, there was a trace of strong vigilance in his eyes. With his experience, he could easily feel a hint of conspiracy in this. However, if it was a conspiracy, why would this young man return the clan token to Ijan so easily? Wouldn't it be more appropriate to use this as bait? How would I know if your Flood Dragon clan submitted to young Master Ijan or wanted to control him? Ling Zhao's eyes were calm. He did not feel the slightest bit nervous because of Ao Sun's suspicion. So, you appeared as a villain. Not only can you test the Flood Dragon clan, but you can also relax Zi Huang's vigilance? Ijan suddenly understood. He nodded gently and finally bowed to Ling Xiao. Young Master Wise. Elder Ao, get out of the way. Beep, the destined son of destiny admires the villain and is dissatisfied with the servant. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. It's starting now? Ling Xiao sneered in his heart, but there was a touch of playfulness in his eyes. This was the difference between the destined son of destiny and the villain. The destined son of destiny had a pure character and knew how to repay kindness. Even if he clearly needed the immortal source to open the ancestral land, he would never kill the innocent and repay kindness with ingratitude. Otherwise, wouldn't his character be ruined? Even if he had greed in his heart, he would not show it too much on the surface. He would only use his emotions to influence and reason. If it were Ling Xiao, he would not care if he was here for a hammer. He would just snatch the immortal source and be done with it. Why should he involve too much karma? The path to immortality was vast, and every step was dangerous. Mortals knew that every man for himself, and the heavens and earth would destroy him, let alone cultivators. Speaking of innocence, how many of those who took this path were truly innocent? They fought against heaven and earth and against all living beings. In the end, which one of them did not have thousands of corpses under their feet and a sea of blood floating? Did you dare to say that they all deserved to die? Chapter 738. Young Lord. This person is very scheming and is involved with the Sea King Yu. After all, Ao Sun had lived for hundreds of years. He had a complicated mind and never trusted others easily. What's more, looking at Ling Zhao's deep and vast black eyes at this time, he always felt that this young man seemed to be hiding a great secret under his gentle appearance. Scheming against the Sea King? This required not only courage, but also extremely scheming and means. How could there be a simple person who was scheming? Old ancestor Ao Sun, you mean? I should take out the clan token and look for young Lord Ijan all over the sea region? Wouldn't this show that I'm simple-minded? Ling Xiao sneered with anger between his brows. If I do this, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to see young Lord Ijan at all, right? Moreover, your clan has always been at odds with the Sea King. Are you sure there are no spies of the Purple Emperor in the Dragon Transformation Sea? Old ancestor, what is your intention? Could it be that you don't want young Lord Ijan to take back the clan token and restore the glory of Heavenly Crocodile? Or you just want young Lord Ijan to stay in the clan and become a token of your clan in the sea region? Let me guess. This time, when young Lord Ijan wanted to come out to look for the clan token, the clan must have tried their best to stop him? If I didn't have a space secret treasure with me just now, I'm afraid I would have been killed by you. You! Presumptuous! How could I? Aosun's face turned cold. He didn't know how to refute at this time. Ijan's identity was really a kind of faith and a totem for the sea region. With him in charge of the clans in the sea region would feel a sense of belonging. This was an indisputable fact. However, that wasn't what he thought at all. Shut up! Ijan frowned slightly, shouted coldly, and pointed at Ling Xiao. Old ancestor Aosun, you also know that the Purple Emperor's means are cruel. He would rather kill the wrong person than let them go. In order to fulfill his promise to my father, Lord Ling Xiao did not hesitate to go deep into the sea region with his human body and infiltrate the enemy just to hand over the clan token to me. How righteous is this act? Originally, he still had some concerns in his heart. However, at this time, after hearing Ling Xiao's question, he figured many things out. That's right. Given Ziyan's scheming, if this young master of the human race revealed the slightest intention of looking for her, it would be difficult for him to escape death. Only when the two of them were on opposite sides would they have a chance to meet. It is said that Lord Ling Xiao slaughtered the Bone Race. Who is the Bone Race? Ziyan's loyal servant. What's wrong? He killed a few flood dragon men to test your loyalty, and you hate him now? Young master, ancestor? You said it yourself that you're willing to sacrifice everything for the Heavenly Alligator clan. Ijan's face was inexplicably gloomy. Everything that Aosun had done was for the Heavenly Alligator tribe. However, after Ling Xiao's analysis, Ijan suddenly felt that he was too naive. Although the Flood Dragon humanoid race was the Heavenly Alligator race's slave race, they had been freed from slavery for 1,000 years. Now that he had suddenly appeared in the world, it was as if this clan had returned from a free status to a slave status. If the Heavenly Alligator tribe was at its peak, it would be an honor. But now, he was only a god king, and Ziyan had stolen his Yao core and immortal origin. No matter how one looked at it, he was trash. Then, what else was the Flood Dragon men plotting? Ijan was not stupid. Compared to the current Son of Destiny, his vision and experience were even more far-reaching. During the Great War of Immortals and Demons, the two clans fought for nothing more than to be the master of heaven and earth. On the path to immortality, who didn't value cultivation. So, this Aosun was not right. The Son of Destiny has begun to imagine. His imagination is unrestrained and extremely magnificent. He is completely on guard against the slave clans. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. Young master, our clan's loyalty can be witnessed by the sun and moon. You must not. All right. I know ancestors' loyalty, but the Heavenly Alligator's ancestral land is the key to whether I can return to the top of the world. Lord Ling Xiao has now returned my clan's token. Ancestor, let go of the grudge in your heart. I will personally erect a monument for the few dead Flood Dragon men in the future. Ijan waved his hand impatiently. Based on the fact that Ling Xiao could return the clan token to him without any ulterior motives, Ijan didn't believe that he had any evil intentions. The immortal source and clan token were both in his hand. As long as Ling Xiao was patient enough to find the Heavenly Alligator's ancestral land, he could open it himself. With this token, he could even command the Lost Clan and obtain the 1,000-year heritage of the Heavenly Alligator clan. Even if he didn't know where the ancestral land was, wouldn't it be more convenient to join forces with Ziyan? But he still came to the sea area without hesitation. He didn't hesitate to put himself in danger and personally handed the token to him. Everything was for a promise. What else was there to say? Lord Ling Xiao, you are righteous. Of course, even if Ijan had lived for thousands of years, he probably wouldn't know what a treasure-seeking mouse was and what plundering luck was. Only when a frog was boiled in warm water would one be unaware. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Young Master Ijan, I wish you the best of luck. Ling Xiao said indifferently and turned to leave. 3, 2, 1. Young Master, please wait. Ijan was stunned and hurriedly blocked Ling Xiao's way. Yes, the clan token was the key to open the ancestral land. But to open the barrier, the power of the immortal source was needed. Perhaps my father didn't expect that the immortal source in my body had been taken away by that woman, Ziyan. Otherwise, he might not have given his immortal source to Lord Ling Xiao in exchange for his promise. Or perhaps my father's action had a deeper meaning. When he saw Ling Xiao before his death, he didn't fully trust him. But he wanted to give the immortal source to me. So, he used the excuse of repaying with the immortal source and only told me to return the clan token so that both of them would appear at the same time? Is there anything else, young Master Ijan? Ling Xiao's tone was puzzled, but Ijan's face showed a touch of embarrassment. Young Master, to be honest, to open my clan's ancestral land, I still need the immortal source in your hand. Young Master, don't misunderstand. I don't want the immortal source back, but, can I ask you to go to the ancestral land with me? Ijan sighed softly. Seeing that Ling Xiao seemed to be hesitating, he hurriedly said, Young Master, don't worry. My clan's ancestral land is an ancient mystic realm. There are many opportunities in it. As long as you agree to go with me, I am willing to give you the inheritance of my heavenly alligator clan. Inheritance? Ling Xiao's eyes narrowed slightly, but in the end he shook his head. Although the opportunity is good, I don't want to take risks because of it. This sea area is now under the purple emperor sky. If she knows that I am traveling with you, hearing this, Ijan swallowed the words on the tip of his tongue. Ling Xiao was right. No matter how good the opportunity was, one must be alive to take it. When he was tricked by Ziyan, he had already told her the location of the heavenly alligator clan's ancestral land. Come to think of it, even if she couldn't get in these years, she must have used some means to seal and suppress it. It would be harder than ascending to heaven to avoid her eyes. I have a plan that may work. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and suddenly looked at Ijan. But this plan is dangerous. I wonder what is the inheritance treasure that young Master mentioned? Since it was a setup, of course, there must be a flaw appropriately. Otherwise, if it was too perfect, it would be suspicious. Young Master Ijan, I have given you the opportunity. It depends on what price you are willing to pay. Actually, I don't know. It's just that my heavenly alligator clan was exterminated because of this item. It is said to be a treasure of the ninth heaven. It was sealed and suppressed by my clan's ancestors. Ijan walked to Ling Xiao mysteriously and transmitted a message with his divine soul. Young Master, you may not believe it. My heavenly alligator clan was exterminated by the sky demon's former subordinate. The treasure that my clan is guarding is said to be the sky demon's relic. In order to prevent this treasure from falling into the demon's hands, my father sealed it with the celestial source power. However, young Master can rest assured. Now that the nine heaven celestial clan is the master, no one should dare to covet this treasure anymore. Chapter 739. The Sky Demon's treasure? Is it that exciting? Ling Xiao's eyes trembled slightly, as if he didn't believe it. Young Master, the name Sky Demon is not something you can casually say. To be honest, young Master, my clan's ancestor was the Mount of the ancient god. He was also an existence that commanded the heavens and earth. Although there is no news of him now, when he gave us the treasure, he specifically told us that if one day someone in my clan could refine this treasure, he would be able to step on the top of the world. Ijan's expression was solemn. Now it seemed that if he wanted Ling Xiao to help him open the ancestral land, he had to take out something that was attractive enough. In this way, he would be repaying his kindness, and there would be no flaw in his Tao heart. In order to return the clan token, the Lord Ling Xiao did not hesitate to go deep into the sea and become an enemy of the Ocean Emperor. What was there to be stingy about? What was there to be stingy about? What's more, he had seen that holy treasure before. The demonic aura lingering on it was not something that ordinary people could resist. I can give you the good fortune, but you can't blame me for not taking it away, right? So, the Heavenly Alligator clan was actually destroyed in order to protect this treasure? Ling Xiao suddenly smiled. No wonder I wanted to put a strand of the celestial source in the ancestral land. It turned out that he had such intentions. Suppressing the demonic treasure? Sure enough, these people from 1,000 years ago could not be trusted. Inexplicably, Ling Xiao suddenly thought of the ancestor of the Foliaceae Yi Luoyun. Speaking of which, Ling Xiao felt more and more that the lord of the Foliaceae, an ancient powerhouse who had followed the immortal clan to conquer the Sky Demon clan, died too easily. A mere lord of the Heavenly Alligator clan had the means to survive until now. Ziyen was helpless and could only seal him with an array formation. The ancestor of the Foliaceae had guarded this world for 1,000 years. How could he die so easily in his hands? However, Ling Xiao had seen the power of the ancestral talisman with his own eyes. For a divine soul body, it was a heavenly tribulation. Am I worrying too much? Sigh, I've been a villain for a long time. I always feel that there is a wicked person who wants to harm me. That's right. Even though I don't know exactly what this treasure is, I've once witnessed its might from afar, and a single glance almost caused my mind to collapse. At that time, my cultivation had already stepped into the God-Emperor realm. Yijan's eyes were deep as if he had seen something horrifying. His face turned pale. Beside the two of them, Ao Sun sighed softly in his heart as he watched the two of them huddle together without making a sound. In the end, the young master was still wary of him. All right. Since it's a precious treasure, it's worth the risk. Ling Xiao nodded and finally made up his mind. Risk and fortune coexisted. This was the truth of the cultivation world. Similarly, if you want someone to take a risk, is it appropriate if you don't offer some decent temptation? Haha, young master, I wonder what the scheme you were talking about is? How do we avoid the Sea Emperor's eyes? Send someone to take a look first. See what methods your race has outside their ancestral land. If there really are experts guarding it, then we can only send the Flood Dragon humanoid race to attack. If there's no one, then it's even more troublesome. As soon as Ling Xiao's voice fell, Yijan's face turned puzzled. Why is that? Don't tell me you don't know what Ziyen is good at? Arrays. Yijan suddenly understood, and his face immediately turned solemn. Ling Xiao was right. If there were experts guarding outside the ancestral land, as long as Ziyen wasn't there personally, Ao Sun could basically kill them with his strength. However, if there was no one guarding it, it could only be said that Ziyen had enough confidence that no one could break through her means. Arrays. From the time Yijan spent with her, he knew that what was truly terrifying about this woman was her understanding of arrays. However, whether it was Yijan, the Flood Dragon humanoid race, or even the entire Sea Clan, no one was proficient in arrays. That's right. I've heard that Zi Huang's cultivation is heaven-defying, but what's truly terrifying is arrays. Ling Xiao looked solemn and frowned. Forget it, it's meaningless to think about this now. Let's send someone to investigate first before making a decision. Lord Ling Xiao, keep this clan token for the time being. I have placed a strand of my soul in it. We can contact each other through it. Alright, it's safer in my hands. Young Lord Yijan, let's not meet for the time being. We'll contact each other through the clan token. Ling Xiao put away the clan token, took a deep look at Ao Sun, then turned and walked away. Until his figure disappeared, Ao Sun said in a deep voice, Young Lord. Those who are not of our race must have different intentions. This person can't be trusted. Old ancestor, you don't have to say much. I have my own plans. However, there is one thing that requires the old ancestor to make a trip personally. Ijan's face was calm, and he no longer showed a trace of impatience. After all, to enter the ancestral land smoothly, he still needed to rely on the flood dragon humanoid race. Young lord, please speak. Ao Sun's eyes trembled slightly, and he bowed. My clan's ancestral land is at the end of the endless sea. I'll give the old ancestor a location. You can go there and see if there are any Sea Emperor Palace experts guarding there. Yes. On this side, Ling Xiao left the deserted island and stood above the void, holding a talisman in his hand. Send this talisman to the Sea Emperor Palace. Yes, Lord. A black-clothed secret guard turned and left, quickly disappearing at the end of the sea. Rouge, this time, let's see where you can escape to. Ling Xiao smiled playfully, and his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The Sea Emperor Palace was located in the depths of the endless sea. This place was originally a bottomless abyss at the bottom of the sea, revealing demonic intent. Since Ziyan unified the endless sea, she used this abyss as a barrier to build the Sea Emperor Palace. At this moment, in a golden palace at the top of the abyss, Ziyan placed one hand behind her back and held a talisman in her other hand. In a few days, the Flood Dragon humanoid race's experts will come out of the Dragon Transformation Sea and surround the Sea Emperor Palace. Zihuang, you can use this opportunity to set up a trap. When the traders come, you can catch them all in one fell swoop. Consider this a small gift I prepared for Zihuang. This was Ling Zhao's spiritual sense. However, what puzzled Ziyan was, the Flood Dragon humanoid race had opposed her earlier. Where did they get the courage to surround and attack her Sea Emperor Palace? There was no need to doubt the strength of this race. However, the strongest among them were only 2 rank 8 divine emperors. If she had not been worried about the Flood Dragon humanoid race's ancient formation, she would not have returned in disappointment and killed Ijan directly. They dared to kill her? Ziyan did not believe it. Furthermore, Ijan had just appeared. The safest way for the Flood Dragon humanoid race was to wait for Ijan to grow and use the Heavenly Alligator race's prestige to recruit vassals. Why would they take such a risk and leave their ancestral land to come to her and die? What is this Ling Xiao planning? Of course, no matter what Ling Xiao was planning, Ziyan did not really care about it. After all, in her eyes, no matter how scheming an 18 or 19-year-old youth was, what kind of storm could he cause? I am already unrivaled in the sea domain. No matter how the wind and rain swayed, I would remain unmoved. Heaven and earth, never mind. Young Miss said that I should keep a low profile as a demon. I should make some preparations to prevent Ling Zhao's words from coming true. Flood Dragon humanoid race, if you dare to come, there will be no more Flood Dragon humanoid race in the sea domain. Chapter 740. Ha ha. We've finally surrounded the Heavenly Poison Lady after chasing her for so long. Although the terrain of this barren mountain is complicated, the Heavenly Poison Lady won't be able to escape with the 4 great elders of Sky Border City here. It's everyone's responsibility to eliminate the scourge. In the depths of Sky Border Island, this place was a towering ancient mountain with trees and vegetation forming a forest. Clouds and mist were drifting about, giving it a fairy-like atmosphere. However, at this moment, countless figures stood at the foot of the mountain with spiritual light blooming around them. They looked as if they were about to face a great enemy. On the 4 sides of the ancient mountain, there were 4 old men in luxurious clothes standing in the air. Each of them held a golden formation flag in their hand. They connected the flags to form a boundary and evolved a divine power that enveloped the entire mountain. I heard that the Heavenly Poison Lady is immortal. She must be burned with raging flames for 49 days before she can be truly killed. That's right. Ordinary flames won't do. It's said that the heaven and earth spirit fire is the best. We also need some earth-fire demonic flames. Isn't this just a coincidence? The treasure of Sky Border Island is a heavenly flame divine cauldron. It's said that it contains a heavenly flame that descended from the 9 heavens. It's called the heavenly meteor flame and contains the destructive power of stars. Heavenly meteor flame? Brother, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. It's said that the heavenly flame can even burn stars into nothingness. If you use it to burn a person, what do you know? This is a forbidden poison body. Once it matures, it can poison and kill all living beings in a region. You have to eliminate the root of the problem. At the foot of the mountain, everyone was discussing animatedly. Among them, there were a few disciples who seemed to be particularly emotional. From time to time, they would persuade others not to lower their guard and to use the cruelest and most ruthless method to kill the heavenly poison lady. Everyone, now that the heavenly poison lady has appeared in Sky Border Island, I, the Sky Border City Lord, have already sworn that I will kill this evil for the world. Now this lady is in the mountain. Everyone, please wait for a moment. The Sky Border City's great elder has returned to the city to get the fire and will be here soon. Above the void, the 4 old men in luxurious clothes laughed loudly. The Sky Border City Lord is really the benchmark of our cultivation world. That's right. In the future, if anyone says that Sky Border City is cruel, I will be the first to slap his mouth. This is the brave city lord. Hearing this, everyone immediately cried out loudly. Clearly, they were extremely excited to be able to personally witness the death of the Sky Poison Girl. It seemed like he would be recorded in history if he wasn't careful. Looking at the excited crowd, the eyes of the 4 Sky Border City elders also flickered with delight. Tianya Ancient City was originally created by a group of evil demons. Their actions were cruel and tyrannical. However, even the 4 of them didn't expect that after being a demon for his entire life, he would become the little demon slayer hero in the eyes of the world. Buzz! Suddenly, a blue-robed old man appeared out of thin air and stood at the peak of the mountain. At this moment, although there wasn't much spiritual might emitted from his body, it instinctively caused people to feel fear from the bottom of their hearts. An ancient bronze cauldron emanated dazzling divine radiance in his hand, and a strand of horrifying and scorching fluctuations silently rippled out and practically enveloped the entire heavens and the earth. It's Sky Border City's great elder, Mo Wu Dao. Grand Elder is here. That poison woman is dead for sure. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Mo Wu Dao only glanced coldly at the 4 elders of Sky Edge City. The 4 of them instantly understood and opened up a corner of the formation with a flash of light in their hand. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, Mo Wu Dao flipped his palm and turned the cauldron upside down. A dazzling blue flame slowly flowed out of the cauldron like a river of stars. It contained the power to incinerate the heavens and the earth as it poured down towards the barren mountain. At first, it was just a strand of starry flame, but after that, it surged like an ocean, almost covering the entire sky. Seal the mountain for 7 days. This mountain should be incinerated into nothingness. Mo Wu Dao lowered his head and looked at the heavenly flame flowing between the mountains. Although these flames were formed from the might of the heavenly meteor flame and were not the main body, they were extremely ferocious. Even if they were god emperors, they would definitely die if they touched the flames. It was said that the heavenly poison woman's cultivation was only at the deity overlord level. Sealing the mountain for 7 days was already Mo Wu Dao overestimating her. Yes, Grand Elder. The 4 elders of Sky Border City bowed. Even though they were all 3rd-stage god emperors, their eyes were filled with shock and fear when they felt the fluctuation of the flames in the formation. Burning the mountain for 7 days. Nothing would be left of the heavenly poison woman. At the same time, in the barren mountain, Phoenix Rouge's face was pale as she looked at the starry flame above her head. Her beautiful eyes were filled with bitterness. Originally, she thought that as long as she hid in the depths of the sea, no one would know about her heavenly poison body. But who would have thought that in this sky-border ancient island, which was thousands of miles away from the human territory, there would actually be a group of people using her portrait to spread the dangers of the heavenly poison body. F***ck. She had already heard about the annihilation of the immortal mystic sect from others. It was said that the sea race had joined forces with the demon sect and attacked the immortal mystic sect once again. It was said that on that day, not a single one of the 800 disciples of the immortal mystic sect survived. From the sect master to the sect master's dog, all of them were killed. Although Phoenix Rouge did not hear any news of Ling Zhao's death. But how could the eggs remain intact when the nest is destroyed? Therefore, that holy son who hated the demon sect to the core was probably also dead. Logically speaking, Phoenix Rouge should be happy about Ling Zhao's death. But when she thought of the white-robed figure who descended from the sky and stood in front of her to stop the 5 emperors of the immortal mystic sect, Phoenix Rouge felt an inexplicable pressure in her heart. Especially at this moment, when the surrounding forest and ancient trees were burning and the thick smoke from the formation above her head, all of these made Phoenix Rouge feel despair. What was the difference between dying early and dying late? Rather than dying in the hands of others, she would rather die in the hands of Ling Zhao. At the very least, she might be able to have a taste of this young man before she died. Cultivating and tempering the body all day long, and working in the heavens and hammering the earth. Her stamina should be very good, right? But it was still wishful thinking. Today, no one would stand in front of her to stop all the evil in this world. 20 years. This time, I have worn it for nothing. Phoenix Rouge sighed softly. Suddenly, she took out a black robe and 2 white stockings from her Qianquan bag. Even if I die, I want to die a beautiful death. After saying that, she took off her black cloak and changed into the clothes in her hand. It was a slim-fitting cheongsam. Her curvaceous figure appeared even more charming under the contrast of the cheongsam. The high neckline made her jade-like neck look slender and slender. At the bottom of the cheongsam, half of her snow-white legs could be vaguely seen, as well as the white strands that reached her feet. She was charming and elegant, but somehow, there was a hint of desolation. Monstrous flames rolled down from the top of the mountain. Like a flood, they wanted to burn all living things in the world. The terrifying power contained in the flames had already made Phoenix Rouge give up the idea of struggling. Heaven and earth spirit flames were difficult for god emperors to resist. Moreover, with the 4 god emperors sealing the mountain, she had no chance of escaping. She was tired and didn't want to escape anymore. But she felt a little regretful. If I could restart my life, I would want to die in his crotch. No, in his arms. Ling Zhao, farewell. Chapter 741. Starfire fell, burning the mountain range and the ancient forest into nothingness. Billowing black smoke lingered in the sky, blocking everyone's sight. In the forest, Feng Rouge hid behind a giant vine. Looking at the sea of spiritual flames sweeping towards her, the corners of her mouth gradually curled up into a smile. Then, she opened her arms and closed her eyes, as if she was going to embrace death. As expected, villains don't have good endings. Forget it. Maybe I can go back in time after I die. This damn heavenly poison sacred body. It forced me into abstinence. But, just as Phoenix Rouge felt the waves of flames sweeping in front of her and about to devour her, the sound of rushing wind suddenly came from the sky. Then, everyone seemed to see a stream of light sweeping across the sky, piercing through the clouds and the ancient array, and falling into the sea of flames. Boom! Starfire swept across, almost enveloping the entire barren mountain. At this moment, the 4 elders in the sky all had a look of confusion in their eyes. Did you see it? I think I saw it. Someone fell down. I don't think he fell down. He broke through our array. Hiss! This heavenly poison lady has an accomplice. Suddenly, there was an uproar between heaven and earth. However, no matter who broke the array and what cultivation level the person was at, falling into the sea of flames at this moment, there was no chance of survival. After all, no one in the Xingzhou continent had heard of anyone who could escape from the power of spiritual fire. But it was very inexplicable. The excitement and pride on many people's faces suddenly froze. The heavenly poison evil body was not tolerated in the world. In fact, the fact that they were able to kill him today was something worth celebrating for the crowd. But even with such a forbidden body, there was still someone who was willing to die with her? Was it love or family? That moth flying into the flame, how tragic and resolute must it be? At the foot of the barren mountain, the atmosphere gradually became oppressive. Gradually, someone began to cry. Especially at the mountainside, the ancient forest seemed to have burned down, revealing two figures who were tightly hugging each other. In the end, they were swallowed by the sea of flames and disappeared without a trace. The heavens and the earth were silent, and only the sound of surging waves of fire resounded in their ears. At this moment, a wisp of dark demonic fire enveloped by the star flame turned into a barrier that completely enveloped Phoenix Rouge's figure. From the outside, the colors of the two flames were similar, and there was no difference between them. However, the resolute expression on Phoenix Rouge's face had completely frozen. The intense pain and heat that he had imagined did not come. On the contrary, the burnt smell that filled the air had completely dissipated at this moment. Phoenix Rouge opened her eyes in a daze. In the next moment, her beautiful eyes hardened. She saw a white-clothed figure standing with his hands behind his back at the place where the starfire was surging. Young Master Ling Xiao? Phoenix Rouge covered her red lips with her lily-white hand. Then, under Ling Xiao's playful gaze, she slapped herself hard. A bright red palm print instantly appeared on her beautiful face. Clearly, she had used all her strength in that slap. Gulp. In an instant, tears welled up in Phoenix Rouge's eyes. In particular, the gentle smile on Ling Xiao's face made all the worries in her heart disappear instantly. After transmigrating for 20 years, she had never trusted anyone. Even her master and junior brother were just chess pieces that could be discarded at any time in Phoenix Rouge's eyes. However, ever since she met Ling Xiao, her heart had gradually become turbulent. Originally, in Phoenix Rouge's eyes, Ling Xiao's heavenly mandate body, which just so happened to be able to restrain the sky poison, should have been her calamity. But he had once again given her hope from the depths of despair. Furthermore, without Ling Xiao, Phoenix Rouge might have already died in the immortal mystic sect. Oh no, it was not might, it was definitely. This was the second time. She originally thought that she would officially bid farewell to this dangerous world. However, he descended from the sky and blocked in front of her without any reason. Beat. The Lady of Destiny has completely fallen in love with the great villain Demon King. She has recognized the host as her man of destiny. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1,000 luck points and 10,000 villain points. Beat. The Lady of Destiny has submitted. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward. Destiny Forging Points 2%. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward, 1 chance to perfect the Tao Law. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional reward. Due to the special identity of this Lady of Destiny, the system has specially selected a 9 Heavens Divine Technique for the host, Mystic Yin-Yang Divine Technique. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly. The corner of his mouth curled up into an inexplicable playful smile. It wasn't easy. In order to make this Lady of Destiny completely submit to him, he did not hesitate to spend a lot of time and energy and specially set up 2 traps for her. In the end, he managed to make this Go Daolia's transmigrator truly fall in love with him. However, the mystic Yin-Yang Divine Technique? And this technique sounds very awesome. It suits me very well. Didn't you say that you would have nothing to do with me in the future? Then what are you doing here? Phoenix Rouge snorted coldly, trying to suppress the emotions in her heart. But when this scene fell into Ling Zhao's eyes, the playful smile on the corner of his mouth became even more intense. Why is she acting so arrogant now? The reason why Ling Xiao spent so much effort to subdue this Lady of Destiny who had transmigrated was because the two of them came from the same place. Their personalities and thoughts were similar. Although Ling Xiao had never revealed his identity as a transmigrator, it was undeniable that Phoenix Rouge's existence had more or less reduced the loneliness in his heart. What's more, this Lady of Destiny seemed to be a very capable person with a single glance. Ling Zhao's realm needed someone to take care of it. No one was suitable for this matter. Only Phoenix Rouge, who had the heavenly poison body, was the most intimidating person. Thinking about it, with the help of this fellow transmigrator, Ling Zhao's life would definitely become more exciting and interesting in the future. For example, changing Han Qingqiu and the others into the Bali clan? I was passing by and couldn't bear to see you. Ling Zhao's expression was cold. Even his tone was extremely indifferent. In terms of acting cool, I'm not targeting the Lady of Destiny. You all are slightly deliberate. It's just that. When these words fell into Phoenix Rouge's ears, the arrogance on her face instantly turned into a bright smile. You are the saint of the saint. Aren't you afraid of being cursed by the world for repeatedly protecting me, the heavenly poison evil woman? Since the day I found out about your identity, there has been no saint of the saint in this world. Ling Xiao looked up at the curtain of fire above his head and the heavenly meteorite flame that covered the sky. He sneered in his heart. What an unexpected surprise. The heaven and earth spirit fire was rare in the world. He didn't expect to encounter one in the depths of the sea. Of course, with Ling Zhao's current strength, he would never practice the burning scripture again. But little cutie Lin Meng needed it. Ling Xiao, I've decided. From today onwards, I will be your woman. I won't leave you even for a single step. Just as Ling Xiao was thinking to himself, he suddenly saw a figure in front of him. That black Chong Sam had been torn apart from the middle. Rouge, white silk, just wear it. Chapter 742. Young master, you can do it, right? My heavenly poison body won't be burned. Phoenix Rouge threw herself into Ling Zhao's arms. There was no trace of shyness on her face. Instead, there was a trace of expectation. Rouge, it's not good to do it in broad daylight. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. He didn't expect this heavenly poison woman to take the initiative to this extent. They were still in a desperate situation, but she already couldn't control herself? In broad daylight? That's right. It's broad daylight. Phoenix Rouge smiled and suddenly leaned over to kiss Ling Zhao's lip. Their eyes met and the flames danced. At this moment, everything in the world was empty. Boom! The 9 heavens obsidian flame couldn't compare to the residual warmth between their lips. Ling Zhao's starry robe instantly dissipated. He hugged Phoenix Rouge tightly in his arms. At the peak of the barren mountain, waves of flames surged. However, inexplicably, countless cultivators at the foot of the mountain gradually frowned. The entire barren mountain was enveloped by a formation. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any mountain wind. But why did the flames in the mountain feel like they were swaying with the wind? Why were they swaying? Young master, I'll teach you. Yes, just like this. What cultivation technique are you cultivating? Young master, are you tired? Don't rest. Come, I have some medicinal pills to recover your spiritual energy. Young master, for 7 days, the flames in the mountain didn't extinguish and the mountain wind didn't stop. Finally, when the starry flames in the sky gradually extinguished, the entire barren mountain was burned into nothingness by the 9 heavens' spirit flame. but in the ashes, there seemed to be a black flame that was still burning fiercely. The power it emitted was even more terrifying than the heavenly meteorite star flame. The world was deathly silent. Suddenly, a lazy groan came from the black flame. Everyone's expression instantly turned sluggish. What the f***ck? This voice didn't sound like it was in pain. Only when the black flames gradually dissipated did two figures appear before everyone's eyes. One of them was a handsome young man in a white robe. He had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, and he had an immortal aura. As for the other one, she was a young girl who was dressed strangely. Her face was as beautiful as a painting, and her face was rosy. Especially that pair of bright eyes that were like stars, they even revealed a charming smile. At this moment, the two of them were standing side by side. It could be said that they were a match made in heaven. Is that the sky poison lady? It seems like he didn't burn to death? I told you to burn it for 49 days. It's only been 7 days, how can it kill her? Countless cultivators were shocked. Spiritual light flickered around their bodies, and they were ready to attack. Young man. Who are you? How dare you meddle in the affairs of my sky border city? Above the void, the 4 sky border city elders frowned. Their eyes were filled with shock and fear. The heavenly meteor flame was sky border city's inherited treasure. Even the sea tribe's emperor gods who had cultivated for hundreds of years wouldn't be able to withstand the power, let alone the two youths. But why didn't he die? Her face was flushed red and she looked very happy. Is the sky poison evil body so terrifying? How dare a motley crew of 5 elements and 8 elements call themselves the strongest demon sect in the sea? Ling Xiao shook his head and smiled. Suddenly, a demonic blade appeared in his hand. He then gently slashed at the sky border city elder who had opened his mouth. Buzz! The sound of a blade suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. A strand of black light flickered. After that, everyone watched in horror as the entire expanse of space actually collapsed layer by layer. The black light seemed to contain layers of Tao law order. It destroyed the ancient times and pierced through the blue universe. The sky border city elder's face turned solemn. Suddenly, a dazzling divine light shot up into the sky. However, before he could attack to stop it, the space in front of him seemed to have stopped for a moment. By the time he reacted, the blade light had already flashed past his neck. A chill rose from the bottom of his heart. Then, the elder of Sky Border City was dumbfounded as he watched his body fall down from the sky. Hiss! At the foot of the barren mountain, a series of gasps could be heard. Everyone looked at the god Emperor Elder who had been beheaded in an instant. There was nothing but shock in their eyes. Although the 4 elders in front of them had held on for 7 days using their spiritual power to form an array. Their auras had already withered to the extreme. But looking at the young man's appearance, he was at most 18 or 19 years old. Killing a god emperor with one slash? Is this something a human can do? Go back and tell your city lord to gather the experts of Sky Border City and wait for me to slaughter them. Ling Xiao looked up at the 3 people above him. His tone was extremely indifferent. Beside him, Phoenix Rouge's lips curled into a beautiful smile. She reached out and grabbed Ling Xiao's arm. Then, she pressed her face against him and made a face at the 3 people. "Ah! You! Arrogant! Young man, you dare to protect the sky poison evil body. You will become the enemy of the entire sea." The 3 elders looked at each other. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. However, at this time, the 3 of them were flickering with spiritual light. They were quite wary of Ling Xiao. Sky poison evil body? Which eye of yours saw that she has the sky poison evil body? Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. He reached out and grabbed Feng Rouge's hand. Then, he waved it gently at the crowd. The shock and anger on the crowd's faces suddenly froze. That's not right. This young man is holding the Sky Poison Lady's hand? Wasn't it said that this poison was an eternal taboo, and that any living creature that came into contact with it would turn into a pool of blood and bones? Why is that young man fine? Could it be that we made a mistake? Phoenix Rouge isn't the Sky Poison evil body at all? Had she been framed? This? To be honest, even the 3 god emperors of Sky Border City were a little confused. This young girl is exactly the same as the Sky Poison Lady in the portrait. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? Besides, if you aren't the Sky Poison Lady, why did you run around these few days? If you don't believe me, you can verify it yourself. Ling Xiao gave the Phoenix Rouge a look. The latter immediately understood. She gently reached out her 2 hands and formed 2 palm prints. Then, she pressed them toward the 2 people in the void. If it was in the past, it would be impossible for the Phoenix Rouge to break the spiritual defense of the God Emperors with her strength. However, at this time, the 2 God Emperors of Sky Border City frowned slightly. They seemed to be at a loss. In the end, they unexpectedly reached out their hands and touched the spiritual seals of the Phoenix Rouge. Pucci. As expected, the 2 God Emperors' palms instantly rotted and turned into blood that sprinkled down from the sky. Gulp! The entire barren mountain was dead silent. Everyone looked at the 2 God Emperors whose expressions gradually turned from dull to ferocious. There was only fear in their eyes. Chapter 743. Gulp! The 2 Sky Border City God Emperors swallowed their saliva and their eyes flashed with anger. Then, before the 2 of them could react, an ancient sword suddenly appeared in the hands of the remaining Emperor God Expert, and he slashed at the 2 of them. Ah! The Sky Poison was a poison that had no antidote in the world. Even with the physical body of a God Emperor, if he did not use his spiritual energy to resist it, he would not be able to resist it. The only way was to cut off the contaminated areas before it spread out. Brat! Who are you? The 3 God Emperors looked ferocious, but they looked at Ling Xiao with fear. This young man had a celestial aura and was otherworldly. Why didn't he do anything related to humans at all? Phoenix Rouge's palms were obviously mixed with the Sky Poison. However, no one expected that there would be a young man who could resist the Sky Poison. If Ling Xiao had not given them the wrong impression, they would not have been able to resist the Sky Poison with their bare hand. It doesn't matter who I am. You accused my woman of having the Sky Poison body. If Sky Border City does not give me an explanation, I will destroy your entire city. Ling Xiao smiled. He held Phoenix Rouge's hand and walked toward the foot of the mountain. What? Accuse? Everyone's expression froze, and then it turned into a wisp of dense rage. Accuse? Didn't you just prove to everyone how terrifying the Sky Poison was? Wait, he was arrogant. This young man was extremely arrogant. How dare he accuse a deer of being a horse in front of everyone? Killing with poison and saying it was not poison? However, Phoenix Rouge's eyes flashed with a smile. Had the saint of the sacred sect turned evil? How could he be so cruel and overbearing? However, compared to the benevolence, righteousness, and morality that he spoke of before, the current him seemed to be even more charming. He was cold and arrogant. He was an enemy of the world. However, he was doing it for her. Young master, Rouge is willing to accompany you to fight against the immortals of the 9 heavens. After 20 years, Phoenix Rouge finally understood why the children of destiny liked to show off and slap people in the face. It turned out that this feeling was addictive. What? I'm the villain, so I won't act cool. Watching my man act tough is also a kind of enjoyment. Beep, the daughter of destiny's Tao heart has turned dark and has the potential to become a villain. Congratulations, host has received 1,000 luck points and 10,000 villain points. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and turned to face the Phoenix Rouge with a gentle smile. These demons are wreaking havoc in the world. Kill them all. Yes. The Phoenix Rouge smiled brightly. Suddenly, an evil dark green light shot up into the sky from its body. It turned into a cloud of mist and enveloped the people at the foot of the mountain. Kill those two as well. Leave one to go back and report. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at the three emperor gods as he spoke calmly. Yes, my lord. Suddenly, a glaring saber radiance bloomed in the void. Then, a fat white figure stepped on the sky and slashed down with his saber. The world seemed to have come to a standstill at this moment. The three emperor gods of Sky Border City felt an extremely mysterious Tao rhyme descend from the sky and envelop the three of them. In the next instant, the young man who was originally in the sky suddenly appeared about 10 feet in front of them. In his hand, the saber pierced through the sky and slashed down. The Time Tao Law was the most mystical of the 3,000 great Tao. Moreover, Xiao Biao was the mandate of destiny. Killing enemies across realms was nothing out of the ordinary for him. Pfft. Even if the three emperor gods joined forces, they were still suppressed by Xiao Biao because they had expended too much energy earlier. Ling Xiao did not look at them again. He held the Phoenix Rouge's hand and walked toward Sky Border City in the distance. On the way here, Ling Xiao had already gained some understanding of this force from Folded Shadow. At first, Sky Border City was a trade center in the deepest part of the sea. Later, because it was remote and far away from the human forces, it was gradually controlled by some demons who escaped here. However, this was the land of the Sea Tribe after all. The human race was weak and often humiliated. It was not until the Lord of Sky Border City held the Divine Cauldron and slaughtered the 3 sea tribes around Sky Border Island that this force became famous in the sea. At first, Ling Xiao did not know that the Lord of Sky Border City had a heaven and earth spirit fire. Moreover, looking at its power, although it was not as powerful as the Emperor Flame and Demon Fire in his hands, it was extremely terrifying. Young Master, there are many experts in Sky Border City, especially the Lord of Sky Border City. It is said that his cultivation is close to the 8th grade. At the foot of the barren mountain, the poisonous fog dispersed. As for the rotten fish and shrimps that chased after the Phoenix Rouge, not even their bones were left. They were reduced to a pool of blood on the ground. Although the Phoenix Rouge's current strength was only at the Divine Overlord realm, the heavenly poison body was called a taboo. Its power was imaginable. Of course, even if there were some fish that escaped the net, they were all killed by the secret guards that Ling Xiao had arranged in the distance. Peak of the 7th grade? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Not to mention that the Lord of Sky Border City had not reached the 8th grade. Even if he was an 8th grade Divine Emperor, Ling Xiao could trap and kill him with his current strength. Not to mention the 8th grade, even a 9th grade, will die if he dares to hurt you. Young Master, Phoenix Rouge's beautiful eyes trembled slightly. The corner of her mouth became wider and wider. She stuck close to Ling Xiao and said, "Tonight? I will give you a surprise." "Oh? What kind of surprise?" Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly and turned to look at Phoenix Rouge. However, he saw her smile mysteriously and said, "Anyway, it is something that you have never seen before. Rouge, when I was in the Immortal Mystic sect that day, I saw that the mulberry tree and fish pond that you set up was quite interesting. How about this? I will help you take care of a force." "Take care of a force?" "That's right. With your current identity, it is best that you do not expose it easily. I will send you to a place where no one will disturb you. Among them are some of my loyal subordinates." Ling Xiao sighed and looked at Phoenix Rouge with a complicated expression. "The current me will definitely be viewed as an enemy by the southern border's righteous path. The first divine envoy is still here. I need to secretly accumulate strength and see if I can." "Young Master, I understand. Just focus on your own matters. I will take care of the forces for you." Phoenix Rouge clenched her silver teeth and nodded slightly. With this destined woman's thoughts, if he handed over the various forces in the realm to her, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. In other words, she would definitely be able to bring out the greatest value of all the tools and make the best use of them. It was not that Ling Xiao could not do it. However, he still needed to travel the world and harvest leek. It was definitely impossible for him to stay in the realm all day long. As a transmigrator, Phoenix Rouge naturally had many wonderful ideas in her head. What Ling Xiao wanted to do was to give her a stage and let her shine. A good-looking person was all the same, but an interesting soul was one in a million. To be honest, Ling Xiao was quite looking forward to this transmigrator. What kind of surprise would she bring to him in this strange world? My lord, it is all settled. Just as Ling Xiao was silently muttering to himself, Xiao Po's figure suddenly descended from the sky. He looked at Phoenix Rouge with a slightly surprised expression. Greetings, mistress. HM? Phoenix Rouge's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and the corner of her mouth lifted into a beautiful arc. Your guard is not bad. Chapter 744. Thank you for your compliment, mistress. I am willing to do my best for you until my death. Xiao Pa bowed, his expression extremely respectful. Although he did not experience the sky poison that Phoenix Rouge used, he saw it from afar. Anyone who came into contact with it, be it divine overlords or divine kings, turned into a pool of blood in the blink of an eye. Although the two Sky Border City Emperor gods managed to keep their lives, their arms were crippled. It was obvious that this woman was extremely dangerous. She was even more dangerous than Yi Qinchan. However, it seemed that his lord was the Real Ocean King. Not to mention Han Qingqiu, Lin Meng, and the others in the realm, it seemed that any woman that he took a fancy to could not escape from him. He was even immune to the sky poison? What was there to say? His lord was awesome. Let's go and meet the Sky Border City Lord. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He held Phoenix Rouge's hand and walked towards Sky Border City. Young master, I have a few playthings that might come in handy later. Phoenix Rouge smiled charmingly. She suddenly took out 2 silver pearls from her Qian Kuan ring. They were the size of a fist and shiny. Oh! Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows. Phoenix Rouge explained softly, these pearls are made of uranium silver. They do not have a high melting point, but they can temporarily seal the sky poison. There are 2 fire attribute spiritual stones in them. Once they collide, they will explode. Of course, these pearls also contain the sky poison that I personally made. Hearing this, Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes, but a smile appeared on his face. Wasn't this a smokescreen? The kind that could kill without leaving a trace. From the beginning, Ling Xiao did not plan to take Phoenix Rouge's life. The reason was because of this. Time travel and imagination were not something these Xuanhuan realm natives could compare to. As long as she put her mind to it, she could create many new toys. To Ling Xiao, it was a spice in his boring life. I'm just a writer. Other than writing, I don't know anything else. Since Phoenix Rouge could set up mulberry fields and fish ponds, it was obvious that they were cultured. What was this saying again? You're not afraid of villains being bad, you're only afraid of villains being handsome. No, you're only afraid of villains being cultured. That's right. Rouge, you're such a clever girl. Ling Xiao reached out his hand, took the 2 sky poison pearls into his palm, and lightly pinched the Phoenix Rouge's nose. Young master. Actually, I still have a lot of these sneaky things with me. Phoenix Rouge's eyes flashed with a sinister glint. She had originally created these things to save her life. After all, as a villain, despicable means were at their fingertips. However, whether it was the sky poison pearl or other concealed weapons, they were all more or less contaminated with the sky poison and had the risk of being exposed. Therefore, under normal circumstances, the Phoenix Rouge would not dare to use it. However, today was different from the past. Now that she was by Ling Xiao's side, she only needed to create concealed weapons and let this destined person use them. She did not need to worry too much. The heavenly mandate could kill the heavenly mandate. As a villain, she would naturally be the woman behind the heavenly mandate and help him kill all his enemies, becoming the only one in history. This way, who would dare to say that I have an evil body? We villains don't want to be a stepping stone. Good, good, good. Rouge, if you need any spiritual materials in the future, just tell me. Whatever you want to do, don't worry and boldly do it. Also, this sky poison pearl can be further improved. For example, its appearance can be made into a spiritual pearl artifact. Ling Xiao nodded, his eyes revealing a sinister glint. Although concealed weapons were despicable and vulgar, but F***ck. I'm a villain, you expect me to be honorable? If this sky poison was used properly, it would be a supreme weapon for sneaky people. And? Young master is wise. Phoenix Rouge's pretty face froze. She quickly understood Ling Xiao's thoughts, and her beautiful eyes also bloomed with craftiness. Then, she took out 3 sky poison pearls from her universe ring and handed them to Ling Xiao. Only then did the two of them walk towards Sky Edge City with bright faces. Finally, I can kill people openly. Heavens, since you asked me to transmigrate into a villain's body, then I will properly prove the villain's name. Sky Poison Lady? In the future, please call me Sky Poison Fairy. Beep, the destined person has abandoned herself and firmly believes in her villain setting. She has completely darkened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. At the same time, Sky Edge City, in a green stone ancient hall in the center of the city. A black-robed elder looked down at the Sky Edge City elder with a sinister expression. Beside him, Mo Wu Dao's brows were slightly furrowed. Clearly, he was also puzzled. Elder Yenju, you're saying that a youth not only withstood the heavenly meteor Starflame, but also saved the Sky Poison Lady and killed the other 2 God Emperor elders of our Horizon City? That's right. Great Elder, City Lord. That young man said that he wants Sky Edge City to give him an explanation, otherwise, he will destroy our entire city. Yenju was the God Emperor of Sky Edge City that Ling Xiao had purposely let back to inform him. This force had occupied Sky Edge Island for hundreds of years, so their foundation should not be too weak. Moreover, Ling Xiao was about to enter the ancestral land of the Heavenly Crocodile with Yizhan. If he could control a few more God Emperor puppets when they encountered danger, he could have one more scapegoat. What? How arrogant! Do you know that young man's background? Mo Wudao and the City Lord of Sky Edge City looked at each other with a solemn look in their eyes. The two of them were both 7th-grade God Emperors. In the entire sea region, other than the Flood Dragon humanoid race and a few thousand-years-old royal clans who could suppress the two of them, even the ordinary royal clans wouldn't dare to speak so arrogantly. Moreover, now that the immortal mystic sect had been destroyed, although there were many human forces, there were not many that could go against Sky Edge City. Where did this young man come from? How dare he say that he would destroy Sky Edge City? Wait, young man? Kill God Emperors? Human race? Arrogant? Could it be that he was the saint of the saint who was rumored to be coming to southern border? But it should not be. How could the saint of the saint protect the heavenly poison evil woman? One had to know that the heavenly poison body was a forbidden body. Although it was not as forbidden as the sky demon body, it was still an existence that could not be tolerated in the world. But if he was not the saint, the City Lord of Sky Edge City could not think of any other young man in southern border who had such confidence. Could it be that he was just using this as an excuse to destroy the demonic sects in the sea region? If he is really the person I think he is, there is a 9th-stage God Emperor behind him. It is more than enough for him to destroy Sky Edge City. The City Lord of Sky Edge City sighed softly and looked up at Mo Wudao. Great Elder! Call back all the disciples and elders of Sky Edge City and activate the protective array. I want to see who this young man is. Yes. City Lord. Mo Wu Dao bowed respectfully, and his figure instantly disappeared. Instantly, the entire Sky Edge Island fell into chaos. Streams of light flashed across the void and gathered at the center of the city from all directions. In the ancient city, Ling Xiao held Phoenix Rouge's hand while the latter was eating a stick of candied haws. They walked leisurely towards the city lord's residence. Young master, what do you plan to do later? What are we? We are demons. Of course, we have to be ruthless and heartless. Hee, young master, you are so naughty. I really like it. I hope that young master can treat me worse in the future. Chapter 745. Is everyone here? The Sky Border City Lord's name was Duan Tianyao, and he was a famous demon sect expert in southern border. He came from the Gone Heaven Divine sect along with Gu Zhen and Hua Yuji. Back then, the Saint sect and the Immortal Mystic sect had joined hands to kill the remaining demon sect members. Duan Tianyao led a group of disciples to hide in the depths of the sea and never appeared again. However, that was a grudge from 100 years ago. Now, Duan Tianyao was living a carefree and happy life in Sky Border Island. Later, if the person who came was really the saint of the Saint sect, he decided, he would try his best not to make a move. Wouldn't it be better for everyone to mind their own business and live a carefree and happy life? As for why the saint is protecting the Sky Poison Lady, it has nothing to do with me. As long as she doesn't poison me, she can poison whoever she wants. If not for someone purposely stirring up trouble in Sky Border City these few days, why would I have to kill evil and bring about such a disaster? City Lord, Sky Border City's 7 great elders. Oh, it's 5 great elders now. The 300 disciples are all here and waiting outside the palace. Mo Wu Dao cupped his hands with a solemn expression. He had already guessed the identity of that young man. Moreover, the Saint sect and the Demon sect were mortal enemies. The actions of the Saint sect's saint were somewhat thought-provoking. Could it be that he wanted to use the Sky Poison Lady as an excuse to kill the remaining evil in Sky Border City? In other words, this saint didn't want to save the Sky Poison Lady. Perhaps he was just using her temporarily to kill her after Sky Border City was destroyed. In this way, all the evil demons would die in his hands. Where would the young man's saint name come from? Yes. Open the palace protection array and guard the palace. Without my orders, no one is allowed to speak. I want to have a good talk with this mysterious young man. The Sky Border City Lord nodded calmly with a myriad of thoughts in his mind. Why didn't he deliberately express his cowardly attitude? Buzz! An ear-piercing buzzing sound reverberated through the sky. All of a sudden, a golden ancient formation descended from the sky above the palace. Tao patterns seemed to appear on it, shining brightly and revealing an indestructible feeling. But, just as the ancient array descended and covered the sky, a few crisp sounds suddenly came from a corner outside the palace. Dang, 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 dang. 5 silver-white beads jumped out from the crack in the door and rolled in 5 different directions. This is, at this moment, Sky Border City's 5 great elders and 300 disciples had a doubtful expression on their faces. What the hell is this? How did they break the array and roll in? She seemed to be quite pretty? Immediately, all the elders and disciples gathered around and looked down at the 5 silver beads. In the next moment, a red light suddenly circulated on the surface of the silver bead. In a short period of time, it melted into a pool of silver liquid. Immediately after, a wisp of dense fog drifted out, gradually surging like a tide, instantly enveloping the entire square outside the hall. This is, ah! Suddenly, a disciple with a lower cultivation base began to scream miserably and turned into a pool of blood. In the blink of an eye, the entire city lord's mansion that was enveloped by the ancient formation turned into a sea of poisonous fog. The 300 disciples didn't even have the time to struggle before they died mysteriously. Even the God King elders collapsed to the ground and vomited blood from the corrosion of the poisonous mist. They had lost their lives. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! F***CK. It's the sky poison. It's the sky poison ah! Finally, some God Emperor experts began to react. Spiritual light shot out from their bodies, blocking the green sky poison a few feet in front of them. But there were still a few unlucky God Emperor experts who were caught off guard and were infected by the poisonous mist, their bodies festering. Even some elders who were fourth-grade God Emperors were shocked to discover that the poisonous fog was corroding their spiritual energy. The power of the sky poison was actually so terrifying. What happened? In the main hall, the Sky Border City Lord and Mo Wu Dao's expressions changed as they hurried out of the main hall. However, the 300 disciples and dozens of elders were nowhere to be seen. What was left was a pool of blood and a few God Emperor experts who were struggling bitterly. F***CK me? I was still preparing to negotiate with the enemy. How did the entire sect get wiped out in the blink of an eye? I'm very confused. Shouldn't the Holy Son of the Saint sect be righteous? Why didn't he act according to common sense? Shouldn't he announce his identity first and give me some shock before we discuss terms and conditions to resolve the conflict? City Lord. It seems to be the sky poison. Mo Wu Dao's eyes narrowed as he felt a chill in his heart. Originally, he thought that with the protection of the array and the support of so many experts, even if that young man was mysterious and had a terrifying background, he wouldn't dare to be too presumptuous. But now, it seemed like he was about to be controlled. Outside the hall, Ling Xiao raised his head to look at the sky poison mist that soared into the sky, and the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. As expected of a forbidden physique. She didn't even need to make a move to kill a sect. Right now, Phoenix Rouge's cultivation was still at the Divine Overlord realm. When she became a God Emperor, she would probably be invincible in this realm. It seemed like it was a wise decision to take her in. Otherwise, when she found out that she was actually the heavenly mandate body, who in this world would be able to control her? Forbidden physique? The law of the immortal path was the law of the jungle. But if one was too strong, they would be seen as not tolerated by the world. At the end of the day, there were still people who didn't want to see stronger living beings appear. Rouge, this poisonous fog won't spread out and poison the entire Horizon Island, will it? Ling Xiao frowned. With his sky demon body, he wasn't afraid of the sky poison. But there were still countless living beings on the island. Once the sky poison spread, they would most likely die on the spot. Now that the first divine envoy was still in the sea, if it was too tragic, it would inevitably attract this righteous light and disrupt his entire plan. The sky poison in this sky poison pearl can only last for 10 breaths of time. Young master, if you need it, I can increase the dosage in the future. When Phoenix Rouge created this sky poison pearl, it was to protect her life. So she carefully controlled the sky poison in it. Otherwise, if it caused too much of a commotion, it would be hard to avoid being targeted. She was a villain. Before doing anything, she naturally had to consider the consequences and weigh the pros and cons. But it was different now. With Ling Xiao in front of her, she didn't have to worry too much. Oh, that won't be necessary for now. Ling Xiao nodded and finally walked toward the City Lord's main hall. The so-called protective array of the sect naturally didn't pose any threat to him. Once the boundary-breaking talisman was used, what array in the lower realm couldn't be broken? When the two of them appeared in the square, looking at the Sky Border City's disciples who had been poisoned to death, even Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with surprise. Damn! It was too terrifying. Fortunately, he was a sky demon. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Especially when Phoenix Rouge hid behind the scenes and schemed step by step. If it were anyone else, grass would have grown on their grave by now. Sky Poison Lady. The fog gradually dispersed. Duan Wu Ye and the others looked at the two people who walked out of the fog, and their eyes hardened. As expected, this young man actually had a way to resist the sky poison. Sky Border City Lord, please be careful with your words. Who is the Sky Poison Lady? Ling Xiao smiled gently, and stepped on the blood-filled ground in front of everyone. At this moment there was no change in his expression. What taboo physique! It was not tolerated by the world. In this immortal path, as long as you were strong enough to crush heaven and earth, people would only revere you and not dare to act rashly. Chapter 746. Careful with my words? The Sky Border City Lord's mouth was slightly agape. As a rank 7 great emperor, he was actually flustered in front of this white-robed young man. This was especially so when he saw the warm expression on Ling Zhao's face, which made his hair stand on end. He was clearly a young man, an ant. But standing in front of him, Duan Wu Ye felt like he was being controlled. It was as if he could decide everyone's life and death at any time. This feeling had nothing to do with cultivation. It was an innate aura. But, F***CK, you used the sky poison to kill all the disciples of my Sky Border City. You're telling me you're not the Sky Poison Lady? Am I blind, or are you too domineering? Also, how did this young man break through my Sky Border City's protective array and come here? This is not giving me any room to bargain. Haha, may I know which sect young master is from? Do you have any old grudges with my Sky Border City? But, in the end, Duan Wu Ye was already worried. What did the death of his disciples have to do with him? He was originally from the demon sect and believed in the teachings of the demon sect. The life and death of others did not matter. As long as I'm not dead, Sky Border City will not be destroyed. Your Sky Border City framed my woman as the Sky Poison Lady. Isn't this enmity enough? Ling Xiao smiled indifferently. His eyes were clear. Currently, there were less than 10 experts left in Sky Border City. Other than the Sky Border City Lord, only Mo Wu Dao was a rank 7 Great Emperor. The remaining people were mostly rank 2 or 3 Great Emperors. They could be killed easily. This, young master, is there a misunderstanding? Duan Wu Ye gritted his teeth. I've lived for so long and have never seen such an arrogant person. Are you trying to distort the truth? But that was just that. Duan Wu Ye did not dare to show any arrogance. There was no choice. The situation was stronger than the person. Since the other party dared to kill his way to Sky Border City, this young man was not a fool, right? Then he must have something to rely on. I'm very angry. So I'll give you 2 options. Kill yourself or kneel down and submit. Ling Zhao's expression turned cold. Duan Wu Ye and the rest's expression turned gloomy. In your dreams. I don't dare to provoke you, but if I want to leave, what can you do to me? It seems that the city lord has made his choice. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently as soul light overflowed from his eyes. Following that, an ancient diagram suddenly unfurled above his head. Within it, there seemed to be mountains and rivers shaking and a golden sun rising. It transformed into a prison of heaven and earth and suppressed all living beings within. It was the mountain sea monarch portrait that Ling Xiao had seized from the great Zhou's old ancestor. What are you trying to do? Young man, I advise you not to be impulsive. City Lord. Why bother wasting words with him? I don't believe that a young man like him can kill us. Beside Ling Xiao, the great elder of Sky Border City, Mo Wu Dao, suddenly gritted his teeth and slashed at Ling Xiao with his immortal sword. Seeing this, Duan Wuya's eyes narrowed and he sighed in his heart. It's over. It seemed that no matter what choice he made today, this young man would not let him go. But you've all seen it. Mo Wu Dao was the one who killed him, it had nothing to do with him. I wanted to stop him, but I didn't make it in time. Great Elder! Buzz! The ear-piercing sound of a sword suddenly resounded in the sky. Everyone could only see a ray of clear light blossoming leisurely, slashing a terrifying crack in the void. In fact, even Phoenix Rouge could not react at this time. She only saw Mo Wu Dao's immortal sword about 10 feet above Ling Zhao's head. Gulp. To be honest, Phoenix Rouge was a little flustered. Although she had seen Ling Zhao's overwhelming strength, this Mo Wu Dao was a peak 7th stage God Emperor expert. Even in the Sea region, he was famous for his fighting prowess. Moreover, this sword was too sudden. Even the young master could not react in time, right? Otherwise, why would he still be standing there without moving? Damn it! It felt like he was going to die. No! The young master was the destined person, he most likely would not die. But this sword light shrouded the sky, it was a group attack F***CK. So in the end, the one who will die is still me? Clang. But, just as the golden talisman in Phoenix Rouge's hand lit up, and she was about to dodge, she heard the sound of metal colliding. After that, a tall figure suddenly tore through the air in front of Ling Zhao and stood towering in front of the two of them, completely blocking the monstrous sword light. In fact, at this time, that figure only raised a single hand, and the sword that shattered the void was caught in his hand. Rouge? What are you doing? Ling Zhao turned his head and looked at Phoenix Rouge with a warm smile, only to see her hiding her hands in her sleeves in a panic, and her expression was a little awkward. I said before, with me around, no one can hurt you. Young master. I'm sorry. Phoenix Rouge lowered her head, guilt and fear between her brows. Young master, are you going to say that I don't believe him again? Kill. Ling Zhao smiled faintly as he raised his head to look at the dazed Mo Wu Dao in midair. His voice was cold as he said one word. Ha ha ha, master, it's just an old dog, there's no need for others to act. Leave it to me. But just as Xiong Huan clenched his fist and crushed Mo Wu Dao's ancient sword, behind Ling Zhao, a cold and arrogant laugh suddenly sounded. Then, Xiao Ping stepped out, and the blade in his hand fell directly on Mo Wu Dao's head. Boom! The sea of blade qi turned into a tide, and a huge crack appeared in the void. At the same time, Mo Wu Dao felt the scene in front of him freeze for a moment, and when he looked again, Xiao Ping was already 10 feet away from him. At this moment, Mo Wu Dao's heart trembled, and he hurriedly took out an ancient bronze cauldron to block in front of him. Clang! The ancient cauldron trembled, and a loud sound rang in everyone's ears. The sound of the Dao reverberated for thousands of miles. At this moment, all the cultivators in Sky Border City raised their heads and looked in the direction of the City Lord's Hall. A green cauldron expanded with the wind, and finally became 1,000 feet in size. There seemed to be waves surging inside, and rumbling sounds could be heard. Xiao Ping's eyes narrowed, especially when he felt the terrifying heat that was about to pour out of the cauldron. A look of determination appeared on his fat face, and he turned to look at Xiong Huan. Humph! I didn't expect this old man to be so capable. This, big brother, I'll give you a chance now. Kill this old dog with me. At this moment, how could he not feel the surging spirit fire in the cauldron? Once Mo Wu Dao flipped it over, he would be the first to bear the brunt of the sea of fire and be roasted alive. But in front of Master, of course I have to maintain my invincible demeanor. Thus, although Xiao Ping was panicking, his expression was extremely indifferent. Seeing this, Ling Zhao's lips curled into a smile. He took a step forward and appeared above the cauldron. Heavenly meteorite flame, the spirit fire of heaven and earth. Such a ferocious thing could be said to be a calamity to ordinary people. But to Ling Zhao it was just an ordinary method. He stretched out his hand and turned it into a huge palm. Before the star fire could pour out, he actually captured it from the cauldron? Chapter 747. Gulp. The entire city Lord Hall suddenly fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at the white-robed youth in shock, as well as the heavenly meteorite star flame that was originally ferocious but was now casually held in his hand. Was he hallucinating? An elder of Sky Border City slapped himself hard. After confirming that it was not a hallucination, he swallowed his saliva. Previously, Duan Wuyao was able to gain a foothold in this sea region because he had used this flame to annihilate the surrounding sea tribes. Even some of the top experts in the sea region did not dare to provoke him. The reason was because of this heaven and earth spirit flame. Not to mention physical contact, even spirit treasures and Tao artifacts would not be able to withstand the power of this flame. But now, such a peerless and ferocious creature was actually held in the hands of a young man out of nowhere. F***ck? Duan Wuya's eyes trembled, and his mouth opened wide in anger. Is it because I have not been in the world for a long time that I can no longer keep up with the trends of this era? Are the children nowadays so awesome? Are they not afraid of wetting themselves when playing with fire? Kill! Xiong Huan took a step forward and punched the green cauldron with both fists. At this moment, Mo Wu Dao did not even have time to react before the green cauldron landed on his chest and fell downward. Blood spurted out, and all the bones in Mo Wu Dao's body were shattered. But before Xiong Huan could attack again, Xiao Tong had already stepped through the void and appeared in front of Mo Wu Dao. Then, under Mo Wu Dao's terrified gaze, the ancient sword in his hand slashed horizontally, directly chopping off Mo Wu Dao's head and destroying his soul. Humph! A mere old dog dares to be arrogant in front of me? Xiao Tong held Mo Wu Dao's head with one hand and turned to bow to Ling Xiao. Master! Fortunately, I did not disappoint you. Ling Xiao's eyes trembled. Finally, he sighed softly and waved his hand to insert the primordial demon blade into the ground. Then, he kept the flame in the glazed ancient pagoda before looking down at Duan Wuya. In the main hall, all the blood and qi gathered and was devoured by the demon blade. Gulp! Demon blade, this is a demon blade. But what is going on? Is this youth not the saint of the saint sect? Why was he so vicious when he clearly had a mortal intent? Is there anyone else who wants to try? Ling Zhao's gaze swept past the few god emperors of Horizon City, only to see a white-haired elder suddenly take a step forward. Before he could even open his mouth, time was frozen by despicable Xiao, and his head was chopped off. At the last moment of his life, the old man's eyes clearly flashed with a trace of confusion. He only wanted to take the lead in surrendering. Why are you trying to kill me? City Lord. Time's up. I'll vote. I'll vote. Young master, as you can see, I have no intention of making a move. Duan Wu Ya's old face trembled as he forced out a smile. Ling Xiao smiled and nodded. Open your soul, see, and be my servant. Yes, yes. Duan Wu Ya's eyes were filled with bitterness, but he didn't dare hesitate. With the skills that Ling Xiao had displayed just now, even a 7th-grade divine emperor would not be taken seriously by him. If he didn't surrender now, would he be waiting to be killed? Buzz. A wisp of soul light scattered, and the seal dissipated. Go and bring all the spiritual treasures and opportunities of Horizon City to me. After finishing his words, Ling Zhao's figure suddenly disappeared from where he stood. He left behind a dumbfounded Duan Wuya hesitating for a moment, but in the end, he didn't dare to have any rebellious thoughts. Realm, Heavenly Palace. Ling Xiao looked calmly at the surprised Phoenix Rouge in front of him. Rouge, this is where my force is. Young master, can I ask you a question? Phoenix Rouge's red lips were tightly pursed, as if she was hesitating. From the moment Xiong Huan appeared, she felt that he was somewhat familiar. Only now did she realize that this was the great demon who had kidnapped Chen Qingshan when the demon clan attacked the mountain. What the F***ck? When did this great demon become young master's servant? Or was it that from the beginning, Everything had been part of young master's plan? I know you want to ask, who am I? Ling Xiao smiled gently and raised his head to look at the sky in the distance. In the past, I was the saint of the sacred sect, but since I met you, I want to break the rules of this world. What? Break the rules? Phoenix Rouge's beautiful eyes narrowed fiercely. He's doing it again. Even though she had seen many ways to flirt with girls in her previous life, it was very strange. Every time she heard young master say such mushy words of love, she would feel her heart ripple, and she would feel impulsive. The reason, wasn't it because young master's immortal appearance made people unable to resist him at all? What can I do? I know that men's mouths are deceiving ghosts. But I just want to seduce him and be deceived by him. Therefore, I advise all the young men who want to be the Sea King to look at themselves in the mirror and reflect on whether they are worthy or not. Originally, in my eyes, the so-called immortals and demons in this world were divided into good and evil. But since I saw the love between Chen Qingshan and Gu Xie, I suddenly felt that I was wrong. Ling Zhao's tone was disappointed, and there was a sorrowful aura around him. Especially when he looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, his side profile was even more tragically handsome. Swish. The sky was very blue, but it was very sorrowful, because that was the color of cloth. Please bring my song back to my home and leave her Dao heart behind while it's still hot. So, young master doesn't care about the difference between immortals and demons now? This world is very simple. The existence of all living things is the reason. The evil thing is the human heart. Take you, Rouge, for example. You are so pure and beautiful, what evil thoughts would you have? But didn't you still get humiliated and hunted down by them? Ling Xiao sighed, and Phoenix Rouge's eyes gradually became gentle. Young master, I am willing to accompany you to break the rules of this world. But before that, I want to apologize to you. I shouldn't have doubted you just now. I should have believed that young master's side is the safest place in the world. So, to express my apology to young master, I plan to compensate young master. Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly, but before he could react, Phoenix Rouge had already tiptoed and blocked all the words he wanted to say. Young master, I was wrong. Please, punish me. Above the heavenly palace, there was a sudden spring breeze, and the waves rose and fell. It was as if there was a reef standing on the shore, never falling, being mercilessly slapped by the waves, stumbling and falling. In front of the heavenly palace, Han Qingqiu, Hua Hua, and Lin Meng stood quietly, looking at Ling Xiao, who was pushed to the ground by Phoenix Rouge, and the radiance around the two of them, with a complicated expression on their faces. That Phoenix Rouge. She is so shy. Hua Hua snorted, but her eyes revealed a trace of greed. Do you dare to say this in front of young master and Miss Feng? Han Qingqiu's personality was extremely cold, so at this moment there was not much of a ripple in her heart. Lin Meng, on the other hand, had a comfortable temper, and never thought of fighting for anything. On the contrary, this Phoenix Rouge was so bold and direct, daring to express her admiration for young master. She was very brave. This woman has the sky poison body, so she must be vicious. Two sisters, we have to stand on the same side in the future. We can't let a newcomer like her monopolize young master's favor. Hua Hua snorted. Of course, she did not dare to show any dissatisfaction to young master. What's more, the Phoenix Rouge had the sky poison body. If she poisoned him again, he would at most die in an accident. But this woman was so overbearing and direct, they would not have much time to interact with young master in the future. Suddenly, she missed Miss Feng. With that person's temper, young master would not dare to be so presumptuous, right? A day passed in the blink of an eye. In the heavenly palace, Ling Xiao called Han Qingqiu and the others to the front of the palace, introduced the Phoenix Rouge to them, and gave the star flame to Lin Meng. Now, he should start to arrange for the heavenly crocodile's ancestral land. The Sky Demon's treasure was indeed very tempting. As for the affairs of the realm, he was completely assured that the Phoenix Rouge would be in charge of it. Young master, are these your girlfriends? They are so scary. They won't beat me up, right? The Phoenix Rouge hid behind Ling Xiao, but there was no trace of panic in her eyes. Instead, there was a touch of pride. In this world, it was normal to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Besides, how many people in this world could resist young master's immortal looks? What can I do? I want to live and I want to live. Of course, I will accept all his girlfriends. No, they are very kind people. Ling Xiao shook his head with a smile. The Phoenix Rouge whispered again, then young master, can I beat them up? No, because each of them is the true heavens chosen in this world. I am afraid you will die. Hee, young master, I am just joking. Feng Ruji's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. Suddenly, she smiled at Han Qingqiu and the others. Hello, big sisters. From today onwards, I will be your exclusive hairstylist, fashion designer, beauty housekeeper, skincare partner, cultivation consultant, privacy good friend. Chapter 748. Rouge, you can stay here in peace from now on. This is my world. No one can enter without my will. Ling Zhao's expression was solemn. He looked up at the girls. A few days ago, I came across a wondrous technique. Study it well. I will test you in a few days. With that, Ling Zhao's eyes suddenly shone with soul light. It turned into 4 streams of light and entered the 4 girls' soul seas. In yang profound art? The 4 girls were stunned. Then they blushed. There are many spiritual materials in this Qiankuan pouch. Qingqiu, you and Rouge will take care of the realm's affairs. Ling Xiao threw a Qiankuan pouch to the Phoenix Rouge. Then, he disappeared. Lin Meng's personality was too gentle. She was not suitable to manage the realm's affairs. And Huahua was too crazy. She was good at killing and eating people. But managing? Ling Xiao was satisfied as long as she could take care of herself. Only after Ling Zhao's figure disappeared did Feng Ling and Ning Er walk out of the Sky Hall. They looked coldly at the unfamiliar young lady before them. The 5 girls stood in a line, facing the Phoenix Rouge. The atmosphere was tense. Then, the Phoenix Rouge took out a Qiankuan pouch and smiled mysteriously. Sisters, Rouge has prepared a gift for you. You think we will accept you just like that? Huahua snorted. Her eyes were full of mockery. Gift? After following the young master, they had seen all kinds of spiritual pills and spiritual treasures. Even if it was a Tao artifact or a grade 7 pill, they were still ordinary items in the hearts of the girls. What kind of treasure could a little immortal sect disciple have? You are Sister Huahua, right? This is for you. Feng Rouge took out a black leather armor from her Qiankuan bag. It was a one-piece kind. Sister Huahua has a perfect figure. You're also tall and fair. If you wear this leather armor, you'll definitely be extremely sexy. Armor? Phoenix Rouge, do you think a piece of clothing? Huahua sneered. Then, she heard Phoenix Rouge say, I've engraved 77 formations on this leather armor. Its defense is as strong as a supreme-grade Tao artifact. Of course, Sister Huahua wouldn't care about Tao artifacts. However, only someone with Sister Huahua's figure would be able to control this leather armor. Huahua glanced coldly at Phoenix Rouge. Beside her, Ning Er asked impatiently, Sister Rouge, what about mine? Ning Er is so cute, of course she has to wear a little princess dress. Phoenix Rouge smiled gently and took out a snow-white short skirt. The skirt was fluffy, with 2 strands of white silk and a pair of exquisite black leather shoes. She was a loli, so of course she had to dress up like a loli. Coupled with her twin ponytails, it was perfect. Wow! What a beautiful dress! Ning Er's small eyes flashed with surprise. She took the white dress and put it on in front of everyone. What about me? Feng Ling frowned and looked at Phoenix Rouge with interest. To be honest, she didn't care about any spirit armor or Dao armor. However, Ning Er's outfit was so cute that it made people's eyes light up. Little ancestor Feng Ling, you're born cold and noble. You're perfect for the dark lowly style. Phoenix Rouge took out a piece of clothing and said, Little ancestor, try it. Soon, Han Qingqiu was wearing a white cheongsam. She was elegant and seductive. She was stunning. Lin Meng, on the other hand, was wearing a red dress that made her majestic figure look even more majestic. The girls looked at each other. Looking at each other's strange yet stunning clothes, the coldness on their faces had dissipated and turned into excitement. As for women, numinous treasures might not be able to move them, but beautiful clothes would definitely work. You're considerate. Sisters, I have a strange item made of 9 heavens divine metal. It can change the curvature of your hair. Come, Sister Lin Meng, I'll give you a big perm. In Sky Border City, Ling Xiao descended from the sky and walked toward the city lord's residence. Behind him, Xiao Bo looked solemn. He held a sword in one hand and placed the other on his waist. He looked like a guard. In fact, along the way, anyone who looked at Ling Xiao would be glared at by him. His emperor's aura suppressed everyone, making them wet their pants in fear. My lord, you left Mistress Rouge in the realm. Aren't you afraid that they'll fight? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows and looked at Xiao Bo with a playful expression. What was a transmigrator expert best at? Was it sky poison? Of course not. She was alive. Last night, he saw Phoenix Rouge working the whole night. He even rummaged through his Qiankuan bag for many spirit armor materials. If she couldn't unite her sisters, she would have let down Ling Xiao's expectations of her. Do you think I tried so hard to make her submit because I coveted her white silk? Childish. Of course, I wanted her to spin silk of different colors. No, of course I admired her outstanding hands-on skills and her transmigrator mind and thoughts. Wise men don't fall in love, but fools are trapped by love. Slap. Xiao Bo slapped himself in the face, leaving a bloody mark. It's all my lord's fault for being so gentle. I forgot my identity for a moment. This subordinate has overstepped. Who are you? Outside the city lord's residence, 2 unfamiliar disciples reached out to stop Ling Xiao and Duan Rouge. However, the moment their voices fell, they saw Xiao Ping take a step forward. His emperor's might spread out with a bang, smashing the 2 disciples to the ground. Then, he grabbed the head of the person who opened his mouth and slapped it down. Are you blind? You don't even know our lord. Tell me, do you really want to die? My lord. When Duan Wuya heard the commotion outside, he came out of the palace and bowed respectfully in front of Ling Xiao. At the same time, he handed over a cosmos bag with both hands. He looked extremely humble. I want you to do something. Ling Xiao put away the cosmos bag and transmitted his voice using his divine sense. The Flood Dragon Tribe? It's my lord. Duan Wuya's eyes narrowed slightly, and his face was inexplicably pale. I slaughter the Flood Dragon Tribe? My lord, if you want me to die, you can be more direct. Although I, Duan Wuya, am a little powerful compared to the Flood Dragon Tribe, I'm still a little lacking. Moreover, the experts of my Sky Border City were all killed by him, cough cough you. What do you want me to use to exterminate the Flood Dragon Tribe? Dogheads? Wait for my news. After saying that, Ling Xiao did not hesitate anymore. He turned around and walked out of Sky Border City. My lord! In front of the barren mountains and ancient forests on Sky Border Island, Ling Xiao stood with his hands behind his back. His white robes were cold, and there was an immortal aura circulating around him. Behind him, the void suddenly rippled for an instant. Layered Shadow took a step forward and bowed deeply. How is it? Young Master Ling Tian and Yi Sun seem to have encountered some trouble. Qin Chu has experts following him, so it's not a big problem. Over at southern border, Chen Qingshan has already made his move. However, he seems to have been targeted by the first divine envoy. With layered shadow's strength, although he had not reached the level of a god Tharch, his concealment and illusory Tao were far superior to ordinary god Thearchs. Now that the undercurrents in the sea region were surging, her duty was to lead the secret guards and gather all the information to Ling Xiao. The first divine envoy is targeting Chen Qingshan? Ling Xiao raised his eyebrows slightly and nodded slightly. It was obvious that Dugu Yunjin was most likely investigating the extermination of the immortal mystic sect. However, he had not used the divine token to transmit his voice. He was probably already suspicious of Duan Wuya's identity. My lord, should we remind Chen Qingshan to restrain himself for now? Yes. Send someone to spread the news that Shishir used the Ice Dao Law to kill the Sea Race members. At the same time, reveal Qin Chu's whereabouts. Ling Xiao smiled warmly. This way, he would not be afraid that Dugu Yunjin would not come to the sea region. Chapter 749. Where is Ling Tian now? Originally, Ling Xiao did not intend to care about this brother of his. With this fellow's current cultivation in the way of the sword, even god kings would not be able to pose a threat to him. However, Ling Xiao was a little shaken. This was the endless ocean, the territory of the demon race. Who knew if there were any hidden dangers or the fate of the sea race in the depths of the ocean? Ling Tian was indeed very strong, and he also had luck on his side. It was impossible for ordinary people to kill him. However, the cultivation time of the sea race's fate was calculated in centuries. Once Ling Tian encountered a demon race like Yizhan, it would be hard to say whether he would win or lose. Forget it, I'm a villain. What are villains good at? After beating the young, the old will come out to take revenge. Moreover, Ling Xiao planned to bring Ling Tian to the ancestral land of the heavenly alligators. With Ling Tian's fate, he might have a fortuitous encounter there. It would be a shame if there were no secrets hidden in the 1,000-year-old secret realm. Lord, young Master Ling Tian is now in the territory of the Xian Turtle clan. Folded Shadow replied in a deep voice. As everyone knew, there were 10 royal clans in the ocean. However, in the end, there were only 2 clans that had been passed down for thousands of years. One was the Dragon Man clan in the Dragon Transformation Sea, and the other was the Xian Turtle clan in the Een Nether Sea. It was said that the ancestor of this clan had a trace of the Black Tortoise bloodline in his body. He was a descendant of the demon god. No one knew if this was true or not, but the physical defense of the Xian Turtle clan was the strongest in the ocean. Lord, it is said that the young master of the Xian Turtle clan is the #1 prodigy of the sea race. He is extremely powerful. Folded Shadow smiled eerily, and Ling Xiao's face flashed with a playful look. He nodded slowly. I know. #1 prodigy? Anyone who had anything to do with the #1 prodigy was either a villain's stepping stone or a person of destiny. He wondered if this tortoise could take a beating. Yes. Just as Ling Xiao took a step forward and was about to walk into the depths of the ocean, the heavenly alligator clan token suddenly lit up with a ray of light. Emoshi, is it young Master Shen Xiao? On the other side of the clan order, Yizhan's low and depressed voice came. Ling Xiao had a playful look in his eyes. This thing was very cautious. His Yao core had been dug out and his immortal origin had been seized. If he hadn't been careful, he would have been dragged out by Ziyan long ago. Yizhan, I understand you. I'm Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao glanced at the distant sky. With a wave of his hand, he set up a spirit world that enveloped him and Xiao Ping. Young master, I have sent people to investigate. There are no experts guarding outside the heavenly alligator ancestral land, but there is a seal. At this time, Yizhan's voice was full of disappointment. The Tao of formations was the demon race's weakness. Furthermore, Ziyan's methods could pierce through the sea. Ling Xiao guessed that the reason why she sealed the heavenly crocodile's ancestral land wasn't because she was worried about Yi Zhan going in, but to prevent the heavenly crocodile's descendants from running out and causing trouble. A formation, huh? Ling Xiao's voice was low, but the corners of his mouth raised into a smile. That's right. Young master. I'm afraid our grand plan is ruined. Oh, I'm quite knowledgeable about the Tao of formations. Until Ling Xiao spoke in a calm tone, the other end of the sound transmission talisman actually fell into an indescribable silence. Young Lord Yi Zhan? Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Do you feel like I'm sending you a pillow when you want to sleep? That's right. I, Ling Xiao, the light of righteousness, love to help others, give others bliss, and make fun of it. 3 bets, applause. Young master, are you serious? I have a Taoist title called Breaking the Formation. However, Zi Huang's methods are bound to be terrifying. Even I don't have absolute confidence. Ling Xiao's tone was extremely indifferent. Are you serious? Even if I'm not serious, do you have any other choice? How dare you talk nonsense? So awesome! You are indeed worthy of being Lord Ling Xiao. Then what are we waiting for? I'll wait for you in the Dragon Transformation Sea. Beep. The Chosen One is already on the path to death. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. Not yet. Not yet? Young master, you. Are you kidding me? Zi Huang's methods are shocking. Once someone touches the array she set up, she will most likely sense it. Ling Xiao sneered. Since he promised to send a big gift to the Sea Emperor, he naturally had to fulfill his promise. What's more, do you think I asked Duan Tianya to go to the Flood Dragon clan to die? I'm asking the Flood Dragon clan to die so that I can arrange for someone to deal with their funeral matters. Their clan is already destroyed. Isn't it a waste to leave so many spirit treasures and spiritual materials behind? Young master, what should we do? Is there really no other way? Yi Zhan sighed softly. His tone was disappointed. Obviously, his mentality was on the verge of collapse. It's not that there is no other way. Isn't it fine as long as we kill Ziyan? Kill Ziyan? At this moment, Yi Zhan was obviously a little confused. If I could kill her, would I need to spend so much effort to go back and forth? Or, as long as I can delay her, I will have time to break the array and enter the ancestral land. Ling Xiao smiled gently. He couldn't be too hasty in setting up a plan, or else it would seem deliberate. Step by step, guide Yi Zhan to think of a way to solve the problem. Look, the one who asked you to die is Yi Zhan, not me. Young master, you're saying right. Why didn't I think of that? As long as we delay Ziyan, we will have time to break the array. I have an idea. Young master, I will arrange for the Flood Dragon clan to attract Ziyan's attention. Look, the fish took the bait. Shut up. A crocodile is also a fish. I said it. This is not too good. Although the Flood Dragon clan is strong, Ziyan's cultivation is too terrifying. 1 or 2 god thearchs won't be enough to kill her. Young master, don't worry. The Flood Dragon clan is my Heavenly Alligator clan's slave clan. Although I have lost the immortal source, I still have the means to command them. I will ask the Flood Dragon clan to use the clan's strength to besiege Ziyan. Even if they can't kill her, it won't be a problem to delay her for a day or 2. In that case, I can only trouble the Flood Dragon clan. However, young Master Yi Zhan, this matter can't be rushed. Do as I say first. Ask people to spread the news that there will be a heavenly creation in the sea region. Only the younger generation can fight for it. Otherwise, they will be suppressed by the heavenly Tao. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a hint of evil. There was not much time left for him. Since Dugu Yunjin was suspicious of him, it was better to kill him as soon as possible. Therefore, he needed to set up a trap and capture all the heavenly wills of the sea region. Where there was a creation, there was often a trace of heavenly wills. These people had nothing to do every day. Didn't they just like to join in the fun? Wherever there was a creation, there would be a battlefield for them to show off and embarrass themselves. In this way, when the Heavenly Alligator Clan's ancestral land appeared, wouldn't it be obvious at a glance how many leaks and stinky fish there were? Young master, what do you mean? With Ziyan's strength, she most likely won't die in the hands of the Flood Dragon Clan. However, as long as we lead all the Sea Clan's geniuses to the Heavenly Alligator Clan's ancestral land, they will be able to see the glory of the Heavenly Alligator Clan. By then, won't it be clear who the Heavenly Wills belong to and who the Overlords belong to? At the very least, with the young masters of the sea region under our control, we won't be afraid that those royal clans won't take action. Ling Xiao smiled coldly. Yijan's head was completely filled with shock. There was a feeling of stupefaction. Young master. Awesome. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This was a good plan to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Chapter 750. Killing and destroying one's heart. This is a method of killing and destroying one's heart. Yijan was excited. At this time, in his heart, Ling Xiao had become his guiding light, his life's savior. You see, young master first traveled thousands of miles, worked tirelessly, and was not afraid of danger to deliver the immortal origin to him. Scheming against Ziyan was tantamount to death. Now, the young master had put in a lot of effort to help him return to the clan. Not only that, he had even paved the way for him to become the overlord of the sea area in the future. There were many strong clans in the Endless Sea area. Although some sea clans had turned to the Sea Emperor, they were just intimidated by her means. Yijan had understood the concerns of the clans in the sea area very well in the past 300 years. They were not sincere in surrendering. They were just afraid of being killed by Ziyan. However, if these sea area prodigies could see the glory of the Heavenly Alligator Clan with their own eyes and understand who was the real king, they would definitely rely on him to achieve great things. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Opening the ancestral land was equivalent to stepping on the peak of life. So awesome! At this time, Yijan was already full of admiration for Ling Xiao. He even regretted not having met him earlier. He was selfless and devoted to him. Such a young master was a good teacher in life and a good friend on the path to immortality. Beep, the son of destiny, is overthinking and is sincerely grateful to the villain. Congratulations to the host for plundering 500 luck points and 5,000 villain points. 3 days later, order the dragon men to besiege the Sea Emperor Palace. It must be unexpected and do your best. As for me, I will go to the Heavenly Alligator's ancestral land with the young master. With that, Ling Xiao put away the Heavenly Alligator Clan token and looked up at the distant sky. Since Yijan had the means to control the dragonmen, it would be difficult for the sea area's royal clan not to die this time. My lord, where are we going now? Xiao Bo stood beside Ling Xiao, his face inexplicably solemn. Fortunately, he surrendered as soon as he appeared. Otherwise, if he met this lord elsewhere, he would not even know how he would be killed. Now it seemed that the soul seal in his soul sea was not a restraint at all. It was a life-saving trump card. I am His Majesty's servant. What bad intentions can I have? Dark Nether Sea. Let's go and meet the number 1 genius of the sea region. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. However, right at the instant his figure vanished, another black-clothed figure silently appeared at the edge of the ancient island. His aura was extremely weak, and if one didn't investigate carefully, one would be utterly unable to notice his existence. Then, he took out a golden talisman and was about to send a message. Who sent you? But, at this moment, a cold laugh suddenly sounded from behind the black-clothed figure. Upon hearing the voice, he didn't hesitate in the slightest. Spiritual light blossomed around him as he madly fled into the distance. Why are you in such a hurry? Are you hiding something? Ling Xiao sneered, but his figure did not move at all. The entire void seemed to freeze for an instant. In the distant horizon, a tall figure appeared out of thin air and grabbed the fleeing black-clothed figure in his hand. This person's cultivation was only at the 4th grade God-Emperor realm. However, the cultivation technique he cultivated was a concealment technique. When Ling Xiao was conversing with Yizhan earlier, he had already faintly sensed this person's existence. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, Ling Xiao deliberately pretended as if nothing had happened and pretended to leave. In fact, he had entered the realm. His purpose was to make the black-clothed figure lower his guard. It wasn't that the black-clothed figure wasn't cautious enough. It was just that the black-clothed figure would never have imagined that the young man before him, who looked only 18 or 19 years old, actually had a divine soul that had reached the 8th grade God-Emperor realm. With the ancestral talisman, even a strand of divine consciousness would not be able to escape Ling Xiao's detection. Moreover, the black-clothed figure would never have imagined that a young man's soul sea would contain a realm that could allow him to disappear at any time. However, it seemed that this person had just discovered his whereabouts. As for who this person was, Ling Xiao guessed that it was most likely the first divine envoy. Human race, God-Emperor realm. It wasn't that Zi Yan didn't have the ability to control him. It was just that he had appeared at the wrong time. If it was Zi Yan, she would have sent someone to monitor him after they parted ways with the Flood Dragon humans. However, this person just had to appear today. Interesting. It seemed that our first divine envoy had already made some arrangements. Of course, if this person had hurriedly sent a message when he was hiding, Ling Xiao was confident that he could capture him while he was distracted. After all, since he dared to come, there was no way he would return. Are you going to say it yourself, or should I help you? Ling Xiao sneered. The black-clothed man snorted coldly. Just as he was about to crush the sound transmission talisman in his hand, Xiong Huan grabbed his arm and tore it off. Ah! Bring him back to the realm. In the depths of the realm, Ling Xiao held a sound transmission talisman in his hand and smiled playfully. Behind him, Xiong Huan held the black-clothed God-Emperor's head and firmly controlled him. You're the first divine envoy's subordinate? How did you know? I clearly didn't say anything. The black-clothed God-Emperor snorted coldly. His expression suddenly froze. It seemed that he had said too much? Suddenly, he felt like he had become a traitor? Then, do you know who I am? Bah! Evil demon Ling Xiao, you'll be destroyed sooner or later for creating chaos in the sea. Hearing this, Ling Xiao frowned slightly and seemed to be deep in thought. Ling Xiao? He actually knows my name? Does that mean that Dugu Yunjin should also know? Did someone leak the news, or… Dugu Yunjin already knew my identity? That inexplicably familiar feeling surfaced in Ling Xiao's mind again. Something was wrong. Do you recognize this item? Ling Xiao suddenly reached out and took out the divine token from his Qian Kuan ring. At this moment, he still didn't know Dugu Yunjin's identity, but everything would be clear once he tested this spy. Since he was a member of the Saint sect, Ling Xiao didn't even waste energy to search his soul sea. Given how cautious this faction was, most of the experts in the Saint sect had their divine souls sealed. This is, the black-robed God-Emperor stretched his neck and tried to take a closer look. In the next moment, his eyes suddenly focused. The Divine Master Token. This is the Divine Master Token. No wonder Master Dugu ordered me to secretly track Ling Xiao. This evil demon actually killed the saint of the Saint sect? Evil demon! How dare you kill the saint of the Saint sect? Ling Xiao looked at the black-robed God-Emperor helplessly. Do you think that the Divine Master wouldn't notice if I killed the saint of the Saint sect? Do you think Dugu Yunjin would send a retard like you to track me? What you said makes sense. At this moment, the God Emperor of the Saints sect was suddenly at a loss. If Ling Xiao really killed the saint of the Saints sect, Master Dugu would have rushed over personally with a knife. Since he knew this young man's name, wouldn't it be easy for him to find him? But how did the divine token fall into his hands? The fluctuation in the token couldn't be fake. It was the divine master's prestige. This didn't make sense. Could it be that he was good friends with the saint? That couldn't be right. Why did Master Dugu ask me to track him? I'm very confused. Fine, I'll tell you the truth. I am the saint of the Saints sect that you mentioned. Ling Xiao sighed and looked a little weary. The black-robed God Emperor's face turned blank. I? Greet the saint? But that still didn't seem right. Why did Master Dugu ask me to track the saint? Chapter 751. Tell me, what did Dugu Yunjin tell you? When did you come to southern border? Ling Xiao looked indifferent. The confusion between the eyebrows of the God Emperor in black dissipated the doubts in his heart. Dugu Yunjin probably only suspected his identity and was not sure that the saint had been replaced by someone else. Otherwise, Dugu Yunjin could have suppressed him personally. But where did the problem come from? Those who knew his name had been killed in the immortal mystic sect. Could it be that the first divine envoy was really someone he knew? Lord Saint, I am Eugene, an elder of the sacred sect. I have been working in southern border. Today, I was ordered by the first divine envoy to find traces of Ling Xiao in the sea region. I didn't know. Ling Xiao is your name. Eugene swallowed his saliva and his eyes were still in a daze. What was going on? What game were these two big shots playing? According to the iron law of the sacred sect, seeing the divine decree was the same as seeing the divine master. The first divine envoy was very powerful and mysterious. However, the sacred sect was the sect of the divine master. No matter what was going on between the two, it had nothing to do with him. Oh, other than you, are there any other experts of the sacred sect in southern border? Ling Xiao nodded indifferently. It was clear that Eugene was not one of Dugu Yunjin's men but one of the sacred sect. The difference was like the third and fourth divine envoys. They were loyal to the divine master but not to the current divine master. In other words, no matter who was in that position, they would be loyal to the divine master. There is also the Water Emperor. She is a 5th-grade divine emperor. 2 days ago, she was sent to eastern border by Lord Dugu. I don't know the details. Eugene's tone was humble and reserved. Although he had many doubts in his heart, it was obvious that there was a conflict between the saint and the divine envoy. Otherwise, why would he investigate the saint for no reason? It seemed that he had discovered something great. Ling Xiao nodded and smiled. Dugu Yunjin was very cautious. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, he wanted to investigate the saint's background secretly. However, he probably didn't expect that an 18-year-old youth could easily capture a 4th-grade divine emperor. Eugene was an expert in tracking and concealing technique. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's early detection and Xiao Po's presence, even an ordinary 7th or 8th stage God Emperor might not be able to capture him alive. However, Lord Dugu, there are still many things that you can't imagine. The first oracle has betrayed the saint. I am here to investigate the evidence and report to the Divine Lord. Ling Xiao's expression had already regained its calm. However, the words he spoke caused Eugene's expression to change drastically. Betray the saint? This Dugu Yunjin was too arrogant. The 4 great divine envoys entered the 4 borders to search for the person who comprehended the Tao law of extreme ice. This person has already appeared in the sea region, but Dugu Yunjin pretended not to know. Recently, traces of demons have appeared in the southern border. I guess it is most likely related to the first divine envoy. Ling Xiao's tone was solemn. He stood with his hands behind his back while his body surged with an immortal aura. He truly seemed to be concerned about the common people, and seemed to be otherworldly. That's impossible, right? Of course, this is only my guess. However, I have already secretly investigated the whereabouts of that frost monster. Since you are aware of this secret, why don't you join forces with me and probe this Lord Dugu? Ling Xiao suddenly turned his head and looked at Eugene. Seeing that Eugene seemed to be hesitating, he sighed softly and said, I hope that everything is just my guess. Holy Son, how do you plan to test him? You only need to do this. Ling Xiao smiled gently and said a few words to Eugene in a low voice. Finally, Eugene nodded slightly and took a deep breath. The Holy Son's actions are only to test Lord Dugu. If Lord Dugu is innocent, there will naturally be no danger at all. What can I do? I am just a minor character. Of course, I will listen to whoever controls me. However, Eugene would never have dreamed that the voice transmission talisman Ling Xiao was holding now was not the one he had before. Lord Dugu. Yes. A simple and low voice came from the other end of the voice transmission talisman. Eugene raised his head and looked at Ling Xiao. He swallowed his saliva and said in a low voice, I have already investigated the matter you asked me to do. Ling Xiao is now in the sea area, searching for an evil demon called Qin Chu. In the void far away, Folded Shadow's figure suddenly appeared. He nodded at Ling Xiao and the two figures disappeared at the same time. That's right. The voice transmission talisman in Yu Jin's hand was not the Holy Sun but Folded Shadow. The reason why Ling Xiao had set up such a method was to let Folded Shadow understand Yu Jin's tone and speaking habit. Ling Xiao naturally could not trust an elder of the holy sect who had not even planted a soul seal. No matter how lowly and retarded he appeared to be, if he had the slightest disloyalty, he would completely mess up the entire game. Moreover, the human heart was really complicated. Who knew if he was pretending to be like this on purpose to make Ling Xiao lower his guard? The essence of a plan was to turn all uncontrollable factors into controllable ones. Villains would die from carelessness. In the north of the southern border, this place was covered in lush mountains and ancient trees. It gave off a feeling of otherworldly beauty. A black-clothed youth slowly walked out from where Lin Shen was. His expression was cold and ruthless. There seemed to be a bloody aura lingering around him. Above his head, the soul-sucking ghost pearl emitted a piercingly cold, bloody radiance. Upon closer inspection, there seemed to be tens of thousands of souls roaring inside. It was very strange. Looking behind him, one could see an ancient sect standing in the middle of the mountains. However, strangely, there wasn't even the slightest bit of movement, nor was there even the slightest fluctuation of vitality. In fact, there was no bloody aura lingering in the air. Young Master sent a message saying that the first Holy Sun has his eyes on you. He asked you to be careful. The void rippled. Gu Zhen's figure descended from the sky and stood beside Chen Qingshan. To be honest, Gu Zhen felt very complicated toward this former disciple of the immortal mystic sect. If it were not for him, Gu Zhen would not have led the four great demonic sects to attack the immortal mystic sect. If it were not for him, Seir would not have died in the hands of the immortal mystic sect. However, in the end, he was the only person in his daughter's heart. Now, Chen Qingshan had turned into a demon and slaughtered the common people. He said it was to revive Seir. Moreover, Chen Qingshan had been blessed by the divine statue and was chosen as the new leader of the demonic sections. Even Gu Zhen felt his hair stand on end when he saw Chen Qingshan. This feeling had nothing to do with one's cultivation. It was as if this youth had sold his soul to the Netherlord. Oh! Chen Qingshan nodded indifferently. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked into the distance. Sunlight shone through the gaps between the branches and leaves and shone on his face. It made his pale and sickly face look even more terrifying. Let's go to the next one. Sigh. Gu Zhen sighed. There was some worry between his brows. Although he was a demon, he still trembled with fear when he saw Chen Qingshan's actions. Chen Qingshan had slaughtered tens of thousands of living beings just for the obsession in his heart. Every time that blood pearl rose, the world would become a purgatory. Tens of thousands of ghosts would appear and heaven and earth would cease to exist. Gu Zhen did not know where the evil pearl came from. In short, he had a feeling that if Chen Qingshan wanted to kill him, it might not be impossible. After the two figures disappeared, a ripple appeared in the void again after a long while. Immediately after, a figure wearing a golden robe and a golden mask stepped out of the void. It was the first divine envoy, Dugu Yunjin. He lowered his head and looked at the mountain of corpses below. There was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. Lord Dugu. Just as Dugu Yunjin turned his head and looked in the direction where Chen Qingshan and the others disappeared, a soul voice suddenly sounded from his yin and yang ring. "What's the matter?" "Lord, I've investigated the matter you asked me to do. Ling Xiao is currently tracking down an evil demon called Qin Chu in the sea." Qin Chu. Dugu Yunjin frowned slightly. He had heard about the major events that had happened in the sea in the past few days. It was said that Qin Chu was a demon cultivator. He killed the prodigies of the sea in an extremely bloody manner. Of course, it was not that Dugu Yunjin could see through Qin Chu's identity as a demon cultivator at a glance. It was just that this demon was incomparably arrogant. Every time he killed someone, he would leave someone alive to tell the world that he was a demon. If it were not for the fact that the demon in the southern border was even more bloody and the people he killed were humans, he would have gone to the sea and killed him long ago. Oh, continue to follow him. Report to me immediately if anything happens. Yes. Lord, there's one more thing. What is it? Dugu Yunjin's eyes narrowed slightly. He raised his head and looked in the direction where Chen Qingshan and the other person disappeared. There's another demon in the sea. He's extremely brutal and slaughters living beings. It's said that all the people he killed were frozen into sand sculptures. Chapter 752. What? Are you sure? Even with Dugu Yunjin's temperament, his eyes flickered with surprise. Frozen into an ice sculpture? He had entered the southern border to search for that person, but he had found nothing after a few months. How could it be? How could she appear out of nowhere? Was it a coincidence? There was a hint of a conspiracy. That's right. I heard that the people of the sea area called her Ice Demon. Ice Demon? Dugu Yunjin clenched his fists, and his eyes suddenly shone with divine light. If it was a coincidence, it was too much of a coincidence. Unlike the third and fourth divine messengers, as a loyal servant of the Divine Master, he knew some secrets from 300 years ago. But now there was no news of the Divine Master, and the Chosen felt that something was wrong. He had wanted to kill Chen Qingshan, the evil demon who had wreaked havoc in the southern border, and then return to the holy sect, but now I know. You don't have to worry about the ice demon for now. You only need to keep an eye on Ling Xiao, and I will handle the rest. In the end, Dugu Yunjin put away the voice transmission talisman and stood on the spot, as if he had fallen into deep thought. Was Ling Xiao the Chosen or an evil demon? How was he related to the successor of the Ling people whom he had met in the eastern border? The situation of the entire sea area was like a cloud of fog, and no one could see clearly or guess what was going on. But he was well versed in yin, yang, heaven, and he had divined all kinds of things. But the answer he got was a narrow escape. Humph, even if it's a trap, who in the Xingzhou land can kill me? Ziyan? Dugu Yunjin snorted coldly, and the golden light in his eyes turned into a vision. There seemed to be a divine tower standing at the top of the sky, suppressing all living things. In the Xingzhou land, except for the Divine Master, Dugu Yunjin did not take anyone seriously. Even a ninth-grade divine emperor was not worth mentioning. In the end, he took out a talisman from his universe ring and sent a voice transmission through his spirit. Summon the 6 elders to the southern border. In the realm, Eugene looked at Ling Xiao, who was walking over from the void, with a confused look on his face. Chosen, I've done as you ordered, but why haven't you asked your servant to put me down? You're not bad. Ling Xiao nodded indifferently, his eyes extremely cold. Several months had passed since Meng Yuan was imprisoned by him and the 2 divine envoys were killed. However, the divine master still did not move. From the 3rd divine emissary's words, Ling Xiao guessed that the relationship between Dugu Yunjin and the divine master was not ordinary. However, this was not ordinary. It also seemed to be extremely limited. In other words, the divine master did not trust anyone in the saint sect. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the 4 divine envoys to have no connection with each other. Of course, if Ling Xiao's guess was right, this divine master's actions in the dark were extremely sinister. Even if Dugu Yunjin was his loyal servant, the divine master might not trust him wholeheartedly. How could a person who stole the teachings easily believe anyone? The fact that Dugu Yunjin was still in the southern border proved everything. A 9th-grade divine emperor was mysterious and unfathomable. Normally, to divine masters, he was like a sharp knife. However, there were times when the saber would also cut him. Thus, it was likely that the divine master's disappearance had put him in a difficult situation. Let's go. Ling Xiao lifted his feet and walked toward the southwest region. Behind him, Xiong Huan held Eugene's head with one hand and followed closely with Xiaopo. Saint, I can walk on my own. Eugene felt a headache in midair. He suddenly felt that his heart was about to turn cold. Could it be that he was too nervous just now and did not speak fluently? Did he make the saint unhappy? When the 3 figures descended from the sky and landed in front of the Hall of Medicine, Shi Dandi, Han Zhan, and the others immediately stood up and bowed deeply to Ling Xiao. My lord. Yes, put him into the array. Ling Xiao nodded slightly and motioned for Xiong Huan to put Eugene into the spiritual fire array. Until now, the elder of the saint sect still looked confused. This seemed to be an array that connected the alchemy fire and the alchemy furnace. There were many youths refining pills in front of the furnace. Then, what role did he play in the array? Also, why did the 2 skinny figures in the array look so familiar? Aren't they the 2 elders of the saint sect? What the f***ck? Before Eugene could figure out the reason, he was pressed into the array by Xiong Huan and was completely sealed. Although his body felt warm, why did his heart feel so cold? It seems that I have to make a trip back to the eastern border. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and turned around to walk toward the Sky Hall. However, the moment his figure appeared in front of the palace, his face almost instantly froze. At this moment, in front of the Sky Hall, several women were gathered around the Phoenix Rouge. They were holding something that looked like sunflower seeds in their hands and were chatting enthusiastically. That was not the main point. The main point was that whether it was Feng Ling or Han Qingqiu, their clothes seemed to be charming. F***ck. This row of black and white stockings, long legs, and different styles of clothes complemented the different styles of the beautiful girls. One had to admit that men were visual animals. Even though Han Qingqiu and the others were peerless beauties, they were a little tired of looking at long dresses and long gowns. But now, the women had changed into new clothes that accentuated their different temperament. It was truly breathtaking. Pure Lolita, dark Lolita, cold and arrogant girl, dignified and virtuous girl, leather-armored demon girl, Rouge, you still understand me? Eh? Young master, why are you back? Phoenix Rouge turned around and looked at the surprised young man standing at the side. The corner of her mouth raised into a beautiful arc. Men. It's nothing. I came back to take a look. Young master. You came back just in time. I have something to report. I plan to divide the territory into several forces and have them compete every month. They will kill each other and the weak will be eliminated. The winner will be rewarded. Also, I think we should give the forces a name and custom-made uniform. This will help the subordinates to have a sense of belonging. What do you think? All right. Do as you see fit. Yes, young master. I have ordered Pill Emperor Sure to stop managing the medicine hall and focus on refining 7th grade pills for us sisters to cultivate. Otherwise, we will be left behind by young master. Phoenix Rouge got up and snuggled into Ling Zhao's arms. Her face was filled with happiness. F***ck. How could she not be happy? For the past 10 years, she had been anxious studying the Tao. Now, in this territory, she was the mistress. She had everything under her control. Moreover, the rare spiritual materials for cultivation in the outside world could not be found everywhere in this territory. They could only be described as trash. In just one day, she had shown signs of breaking through just by eating spiritual pills. What was there to say? Young master, please, right now, immediately, play with my feelings. Tonight, I will stay in the Sky Palace for one night. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He looked up at Han Qingqiu and Lin Meng. The two girls blushed and looked away shyly. Hua, come with me to do something. At the same time, deep in the sea, two figures stepped into the air and flew towards the east. According to Eugene, Elder Shui was a 5th grade divine emperor. Even if he did not stop, it would take him at least 7 or 8 days to reach the Ling people. With the flowy demon dragon's body, she would definitely be able to reach the Ling clan before her. Although Eugene did not know why Elder Shui was going to the eastern border, Ling Xiao guessed that she was going for the Ling people. When the time came, isn't this Elder Shui? Are you looking for Ling Xiao? I am. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Sending your head from 1,000 miles away, you are really, the gift is light but the thought is heavy. Chapter 753. Realm, Immortal Spring. Ling Xiao hugged Lin Meng and Han Qingqiu as they lay in the spring, resting. Han Qingqiu was fast asleep. Lin Meng opened her eyes and looked at Ling Xiao quietly. There was a glimmer of light in the sky. It was obvious that they had fought a sleepless battle last night. Master, where did Sister Hua go? Lin Meng was nestled in Ling Zhao's arms. She looked tired. She was most familiar with Hua among the women by Ling Zhao's side. Lin Meng did not expect that the demonic dragon that her master stepped on when he descended from the sky was Hua. Back to the eastern border. I have something to do. Naturally, Ling Zhao's pure purple Qi Dao body had returned with Hua. The heavenly crocodile ancestral land was about to open. His original body could not leave. Although the two divine bodies were at the same level, the ancestral talisman and the immemorial demonic blade were all in his original body's sea of soul. Plus, Sect Master Taishan was at the eastern border. What could a mere water emperor do? Oh, Master. Actually, Master Xianyuan misses you a lot. She always talks about you. She said that you are not in any danger outside. Why don't you ask her to help you? Lin Meng smiled gently. In the past 6 months, she had been cultivating with the moon of Xianyuan. She had mastered alchemy and spiritual fire. Although her talent was not as good as Han Qingqiu and Ning Er's. Fortunately, Lin Meng worked hard enough and awakened the great spiritual fire body. As long as she had enough spiritual fire for her cultivation, Ling Xiao believed that her future achievements would not be lower than anyone else's. Meng you have been with your mother for 6 months. Have you seen her do anything unusual? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with curiosity. Since he was young, the moon of Xianyuan had always been a domineering and loving mother in front of him. Not to mention outsiders, even if it was a member of the clan, if anyone dared to make Ling Xiao unhappy, he would not spare them. That was why Ling Zhao's original owner had developed such an arrogant personality. However, the more Ling Xiao came into contact with the outside world, the more he began to feel the vastness of the world. He increasingly felt that the object of inheritance from the Dan origin Holy Land that his mother spoke of did not seem to belong to the Xingzhou continent. Furthermore, even the upper realm ghost clan's treasure, the soul-sucking ghost pearl, was not as powerful as the boundary-breaking talisman. Back then, it was his mother who refined the spirit pill used to shape Nine Nether's body. But thinking about it, even the old grandpa in Lin Shi's ring had waited bitterly for hundreds of years and still hadn't been able to reconstruct his body. Thinking about it this way, the moon of Xuanyuan's methods could be said to be terrifying. Abnormal behavior? Lin Meng was stunned. She didn't understand what Ling Xiao meant. Forget it. I'll ask her myself when I return to the eastern border. Ling Xiao trusted his mother completely. Regardless of whether or not she was hiding her identity, she would never hurt him. She naturally had her reasons for not saying anything. Perhaps the time was not ripe yet. Or perhaps it was a form of protection for him. That spiritual fire, when do you plan to merge? That star flame is still a little irritable. I need to use my spiritual energy to nourish it for a period of time. When it lets down its guard against me, I'll try to merge it. Young master, I heard Sister Rouge talk about a lot of interesting things today. She asked me to help her refine some sky poison. She said that she wanted to create a batch of spirit treasures for the Shadow Guards. Young master, I feel more and more that Sister Rouge is amazing. She hasn't heard of many of her ideas before. Lin Meng's eyes flashed with admiration, but her tone was inexplicably low. And Sister Qingqiu, Ning and little ancestor Feng Ling. They're all amazing. You are also very powerful. The spiritual fire of heaven and earth is originally the most ferocious thing in the world, but you can merge them into your body without using any cultivation method. This in itself is an extremely terrifying talent. Don't worry, I will find more spiritual fire for you to cultivate. Ling Xiao reached out and rubbed Lin Meng's pretty face. As for Phoenix Rouge, she was originally a transmigrator. Her ideas were strange and interesting. What was there to fuss about? However, using sky poison to refine spirit treasures and giving them to the Shadow Guards to control, it seemed that this destined girl had walked further and further on the path of being a villain. Meng how's your cultivation of the mysterious yin-yang formula that I taught you? Young master, Meng is stupid. There are still many things that I don't understand. It's okay. Practice makes perfect. I'll give you some pointers alone. Young master, a day passed in the blink of an eye. In the depths of the sea there was a place with black water. This place was surging with waves. The demonic aura was at its peak. There were layers of Taoist rhymes flowing with the wave. It could be said to be magical. Ling Tian frowned slightly. He looked at a group of sea race youths in front of him. They were dressed differently and had strange appearances. Get lost. F***CK. I've been in the sea for countless years. I've never seen a human as arrogant as you. At the head of the group, a sea demon whose face was covered with scales sneered. However, his eyes intentionally looked at Yi Sun who was beside Ling Tian. Young Master Tai Mu, how old are you? Behind him, a sea race youth asked with a puzzled expression. Was endless time so worthless these days? F***CKU. Why do you care how old I am? That human brat, if you know what's good for you, leave that girl behind. Get lost. Tai Mu snorted coldly. His demonic aura was vast and mighty. He vaguely turned into a demonic shadow that stood above Ling Tian's head. Although Tai Mu was a little arrogant, his cultivation had reached the 6th stage of the divine Marquis realm. Even in the endless sea domain, he could be called a genius. You're courting death. Ling Tian snorted coldly. In the past few days, The news about a precious treasure appearing in the sea had spread far and wide. Countless geniuses of the sea race began to gather in one place and formed groups in order to seize the opportunity when the treasure appeared. The sea race youths in front of Ling Tian were subordinates of the young master of the Xian turtle clan, who was also the #1 genius of the sea. The one who spoke was Tai Mu, the young master of the Iron Turtle clan, one of the top 10 royal clans in the sea. He was also a well-known figure in the sea. The Xian Turtle clan, the Bone Clam clan, and the Iron Turtle clan were all famous for their defense. Tai Mu was now one of the most loyal subordinates of the young master of the Xian Turtle clan. Seeking death? Brothers, he said, I'm seeking death? Ha, everyone knows what the young master of the Xian clan likes, right? If we can give this human girl to the young master, go. Let him know the power of the sea race. Boom! Several demonic shadows rose into the sky and rushed toward Ling Tian. Ling Tian just calmly held the ancient sword in his hand and gently slashed at the void. Buzz! A dazzling ray of light quietly bloomed. Then, a neat gully appeared in the sea. Moreover, before the smile on Tai Mu's face completely disappeared, he saw the figures of the 4 sea race youths suddenly split in the middle and sprinkled down. The thick smell of blood instantly filled the air and dyed the entire sea red. However, at this moment, Ling Tian seemed to be hesitating. Junior brother Ling Tian, what's wrong? Yi Sun frowned slightly and looked nervous. It was the first time she saw Ling Tian show such an expression when he was fighting someone. Inexplicably, Yi Sun suddenly felt uneasy. Sun, is there room in your interspatial ring? What's wrong? Brother loves seafood. Pack these up and bring them back for him. Remember, use the life Tao law to keep them fresh. Yi Sun-er's eyes trembled slightly, and a hint of resentment flashed on her pretty face. I knew it! In this world, only Ling Xiao could make Ling Tian show such an expression. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.